following podcast may contain some adult language. You've been warned.
Welcome to Finding the Narrative, the Genesys RPG Podcast. This is a show dedicated to the Genesys Role Playing System created by Fantasy Flight Games and produced by Edge Studios. A show in which we, your hosts, discuss all things Genesys from both the player's and a GM's perspective. I am Tony Fanning, and with me as always are my good friends and co-hosts, Chris Holmes and Stefan Dragonspawn. Stefan, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good. Progress is going well on our garage loft. The guys are back to working on it, so we'll have a great space pretty soon, despite the weather. Other than that, trying to survive in the Great White North up here. The dogs love it, though. So, and other than that, not too much gaming going on, but a little bit. So still getting that itch scratched. What about you, Chris?
Oh, I'm scratching. I'm itching. I'm having fun.
I'm sure.
Oh yeah, plenty of gaming going on, and my wife is back from traveling a bit. She brought the puppy, so forgive me, anybody, if you guys start hearing a little chirpy of my little dog tonight. Cat, well, whatever, the starter dog, right? That's what you called her, right?
The sampler.
Hey, it's a cute little 5-pound Papillon named Piper.
Yeah, that's it.
Anyways, yes,
That's a cat.
Whatever, dude.
I have a cat that weighs 4 times that.
Well, yeah. Anyways, yeah. So dogs are supposed to, relax the heart. Oh yeah, so does. There she goes. Yep. Okay. All right. Well, yeah, I'm doing good. I'm excited to be here, boss. How about you, Tony?
Oh, I've been working so hard. My back hurts.
Working all the livelong day?
Are you channeling Risen there?
No.
From D&D?
I think so.
Well, I'm not going to be able to do the voice for a few days, but yeah, no, just working a lot, man. I have so many things going on with work, and just haven't had much time to do anything other than read role-playing books in my free time.
Yeah.
So, other than our, I think the last time we gamed was last Thursday when we played Rime of the Frost Maiden. I just haven't even been anywhere near my computer. That's like sad.
I know. I've been doing the frickin' Viking lumberjack thing, man. Good Lord, yeah. Playing Valheim, shit, man. But more on the lumberjack later.
Yeah, yeah. Foreshadowing.
Yes, foreshadowing. So, what do we got to talk about tonight, gentlemen?
Well, we are going to have episode 77, part 2 of our vehicle section. Spotlight, I guess it would be. That is episode 77, Planes, Trains, and Submersible Dogfighters.
Oh my.
There you go. Oh my. That's right. Well, okay then. Well then, let's get into it. Let's start boost. Let's have Stefan boost the signal here.
Yes, I love submarines, of course. Everyone knows why, I'm sure.
Get on with it.
All right, everybody. Here we are going to have Stefan boost the signal, where he shares all the hot Genesys news from Edge Studio section of the DT RPG, Drive-Thru RPG, formerly known as the Foundry. What do you have for us today, whenever you're listening to it, everybody?
Today is boosting the signal. No. It's all about vehicles. Not just motorcycles, but spaceships, whoo, pew, 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 pew. And submarines, because they're long, hard, and full of semen.
Oh, that's why you like the submarines. That's it. All right.
Yes, today I'm boosting the signal related to our main topic. So I think I broke my co-host.
I just tried not to
You
spit
broke down
water all over my keyboard.
So while they're recovering from that,
Boost
Christopher Ruthenbeck gives us the Genesys Vehicle Companion. It's been out for a little while, but since we're talking about vehicles, I wanted to bring a spotlight back to it. So this takes a deep dive into making vehicles of all shapes and sizes and tech levels for your various Genesys settings. So it uses, of course, the Genesys core book and the expanded player's guide, and he expands a little bit on it. I've read through them. He's pretty thorough. He goes over many aspects of the vehicles, what you put on vehicles, whether features, especially most important ones, sometimes weapons and armor, the qualities that are appropriate, goes into detail about scale, planetary scale versus personal scale, and offers a few vehicles, and even goes through building a couple of vehicles, 2 different vehicles, just to work out on how it works out. Suggestions on anything from what silhouette the vehicle should be or what range it should fall into, the hull threshold, the system strain threshold as well. So we might refer to it during the show, maybe not, we'll see. I brought it up to my co-host's attention as well. So yeah, you can check it out if you want more details, on an actual document other than the main book that's just dedicated to vehicle and vehicle creation. And it's only $4.99 US, available on Drive-Thru RPG, and the link will be in the show notes. All right, I'm out of here.
Well, before you go, so is there a deeper dive into like more of the weapons?
It does go a bit into the weapons, yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah, like some qualities might not be appropriate or fitting. Like a stun might not be, but although you could refer to stun damage as a weapon causing, for example, only strain, like an ion cannon.
There you go. Okay.
A few other things, don't. You don't need pierce on most heavy weapons on planetary scale because they'll use breach. So the difference between those two things, even though they do more or less the same thing, they're on a different scale.
Got it. Okay. Well, that's pretty cool.
Yep.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll have that handy there then, Stefan, if we need to reference it.
Yep.
When we're going through this other, when we're going through the expanded player's guide through this.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've got the
Cool.
PDF up on my computer, so we can look into it. So that's boosting the signal. Hopefully that will bring back some attention to this pretty good product, in my opinion. And a little bit more money on his to Christopher, and maybe he'll produce more quality stuff in the future.
All right. Here we go. Okay. Well, hey, welcome to the main chunk section of the show, the Books of Genesys. Well done there, bud. Well done. Yeah, so we're going to break down, this is where we break down one section of the books in Genesys bit by bit. This time, as Tony said, we're going to do our part 2 of our multi-show dive into the various vehicle rules. Found this time in the Expanded Player's Guide, page 58. Or page 59 if you have the PDF like myself. Vehicle creation. Expanded rule creation section of the Expanded Player's Guide, where we're going to talk about constructing a vehicle. This is where we're going to choose like the function of your vehicle. You're going to choose the silhouette, the characteristics, the skill that the driver or pilot will be using. And you'll be shocked to know that maybe that ship would not be using operation or whatever. And then you'll select we're going to go into selecting the characteristics of vehicles and how you would do that, which is going to be talk about that a little later. Keep in mind a vehicle's price as well. So as you make these choices, there are tables in here where you'll add up, how much your vehicle will cost. And I'll keep track of, we're going to actually build our own vehicle here, and I'll keep track of how much it's going to cost us. I'm curious to see how much that will be.
Before we decide what vehicle we're going to make and what
Right.
all that stuff, we have to decide what unit of measure we're going to use for our coinage.
Well, it will be it's going to be, we're going to be making our vehicle in the Tales of the Epsilon Eclipse, right?
Right.
So the unit of coinage could be really anything. Pick a world, right?
I say we use simoleons.
Simoleons?
Yeah. The old Bugs Bunny cartoons. 15 simoleons.
That's cool. We could
Looney
do that.
Tunes always had simoleons.
There we go.
I'm just being a jerk. I'm sorry.
Or Hamburglar. We could do it in hamburgers. Though, we could do it shots.
Yeah.
Since the Epsilon Eclipse or something.
That would be painful.
We're not sure. Yeah, well, yeah. Generic credits, we could do that for now since we haven't necessarily.
Let's do cred.
Cred. Okay, slips. Slips.
Pull tabs. I don't know.
Pull tab. Oh, there it is. All right. Pull tabs will be the cost. Cost parentheses in pull tabs. There we go. All right. Okay, so now that we've decided on the currency that our vehicle will cost, we will start with, and we've kind of hinted to it already, the function of your vehicle. So the first thing you want to figure out, you want to ask yourself, what is this vehicle supposed to do? Is it going to be used for exploration, racing, combat, demolition? And then once you have that function, that could tell you what terrain it's going to be operating in. Is it going to fly? Is it going to dive underwater? Is it going to go on land? Is it going to be space vehicles? Is it just going to burrow itself into a freaking asteroid in the belt somewhere, driven by a belter-loader? We'll see. And this is mainly a narrative element of the vehicle design because not a whole lot of rules, mechanics really change based on what terrain you're on, though some do. But for vehicle specific, there are some special rules towards the back that we'll talk about as well. So, gentlemen, what are we going to make tonight as we build and go through vehicle creation?
Stefan?
Oh, well, I chose for ground vehicles a futuristic hover car.
Oh, okay.
So you're going to make that? Well, I thought we were going to do just the one.
Oh, yeah. No, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So
all right.
Your futuristic hover car can come some other day. No.
Yeah.
We're going to put the
if you
kibosh
want to
on.
do that too, that's cool.
You could.
Once we have the technology, then we can build it.
Awesome.
I thought as a group we would build the one that we're going to be using in our Advantageous Threats later, which is going to be a Submersible Dogfighter.
Yep. And I've actually
forgot about it.
And I'm actually going to suggest that we call it a pseudo. SUDO. Okay.
A pseudo.
Okay.
Pseudo. So a submersible dogfighter, pseudo. Now, the
Okay.
thing is, I'm a dork, and anybody out there like Chris, yeah, if you work on Linux systems all day, you know that that's the name for like the super user do command. And I don't know, I figured naming our ship that would be pretty awesome because I'm a dork that way. And
So it's the Super Dork Fighter. Got it. All right.
yep, let's do it. Because welcome to the dork side, everybody. We have
Yeah.
pull tabs.
Yes. The Sudo 250. I don't know. something
That's
like
right. So if you haven't figured it out yet, it's a submersible. So the sea. And what's our function? It's a dogfighter. So it's going to be what? Demolition? It's going to be racing? No, it's going to be combat, baby. Combat dogfighter. So underwater dogfighter. That's
There you
what we're doing. Now, what's the next thing we have to decide on this? Who wants to go next?
Well, then we have to decide how big it'll be, so that goes under the silhouette.
It's always about size with you, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's right.
It has to be a sexy silhouette, too.
And since it's a submersible,
Well, there is submersible. Has to be a certain size to kind of contain all the components to allow it to survive in the various depths and underwater environments. But depending also on the size of the crew, is it a one-man vehicle or multi-person crew? That may depend. So, what the silhouette or would we aim for?
well, on table 2, 1-1, they do have suggestions. That's on page 60. Of like the silhouette, and then in the examples they have, like a silhouette 1 would be that motorcycle that we've been hearing you ride there.
Yeah.
Stuff.
Oh, I thought it was
show.
motor boating.
What? Oh, well, maybe. And then silhouette 2 would be like a fishing boat or a car. Silhouette 3 though, semi-truck, fighter plane, starfighter, speedboat. And then it goes through, so this is a pretty good table. It's got silhouette, hull trauma, system strain, occupants, consumables.
Yeah, all good suggestions to start off with.
Mm-hmm. So what do we think?
Since I guess fighter plane / speedboat are in that category,
I was thinking silhouette 3 myself too.
Yeah.
How about you, Tony?
Agreed. Group consensus reached.
All right.
So 3 it is.
Nice. And what it does have in here is talks about a price modifier.
Mm-hmm.
And our price modifier, our pull tab modifier for a silhouette 3 is going to be ×1. So basically what that's going to mean is anything we add on to this that we find for a price, just take it straight out, multiply it by 1.
Yeah.
Okay. If it was larger, like silhouette, what would it say? Silhouette 5, it would be 2 times, right?
Mm-hmm.
So anything you put on there would be twice the cost. So here it's just going to be straight up out of the book.
That's it.
So, all right.
Yeah, and silhouette 3, the line for silhouette 3 gives you, like you mentioned, suggestions for the other stats.
Yep, which we're going to get into as we go further into this.
That's it.
Okay.
All right.
Cool.
Tony,
right, so
what does that lead into?
Well, that leads into determining what our control skill is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So when you build your vehicle, you have to select how the characters are going to control it, whether they're driving, operating, or piloting, essentially. Driving is reserved for ground vehicles, unless they are truly massive.
Mm-hmm.
And piloting is reserved for aircraft and spacecraft, again, unless they're huge. If a vehicle uses driving or piloting, it means it can be controlled by 1 or 2 characters also, using their quick reflexes and spatial awareness. Whereas operating, this is kind of your super huge large vehicles. It's for your large watercraft, large spacecraft, large land vehicles. They require a crew to operate.
Yeah, and I'm not the only one who's obsessed by size, apparently.
And the reason why is because operating, you're more controlling it using your brains and knowledge of how it handles and weather conditions and such. Now, there's a sidebar here that I want to mention.
Yep.
That talks about unorthodox control skills, and you guys have seen me use this actually in a Star Wars game that I ran. There are some exceptions to the guidelines for what control skill works with a vehicle. For example, a motorized speedboat that handles like a car would require the driving skill to operate, whereas a small sailboat would use operating because of the wind speed, heading, and sail area are things that you take into account. It's even possible, and this is the part I'm talking about, for a bicycle, rowboat, parachute, or whatever to use athletics or coordination. And what I say is the example I used is that I had you guys on jet skis.
Yes, that's right. I think I think you allowed us to use either, right?
Coordination.
Athletics or coordination more than anything.
Yep. Yeah. I pretty much had everybody using coordination for I also had you guys on hover skateboards.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, the hover skateboards used coordination and the jet skis used athletics is what it was.
There we go. That's right.
To control.
That was cool, dude.
In that particular adventure that I ran at, was it Con on the Cob 2019?
Possibly, yeah.
2 of them ago, yeah. Couple of years ago, yeah.
And during one of the APs for the show, the one I ran using Dragonstar, one of the characters played by Darren, he had a hoverboard kind of thing, and I had keyed it to either athletics or coordination because it's almost like surfing.
Yeah.
So
nice.
Awesome.
So, I mean, there's that. You could also even, and I'll throw this out there, if you want to have vehicles that are controlled by a magic user in a magic setting, you could even have the control skill be a type of magic. If it's a magical vehicle, like say the old, those of us who played D-Shift-7D forever knew about the old apparatus of the Qualish, the big crab mech thing, and having
that's reasonable.
Using your Arcana skill to control a magical
magical based vehicle.
Like for instance, maybe having that witch character using her divine to control her broom. Even
there you go. That's cool. If she wanted to do, and again, these are you'll be using that skill, your driving skill, when you're making those dangerous driving checks. When you're losing control of your vehicle,
right.
That's when you'll be making those checks. I was even thinking, what would you use for a like a drone controlled remotely with that feels like coordination.
Computers.
Maybe computers. Yeah, you could use computers for that.
Drone piloting in Shadow the Beanstalk uses computers.
Does it? Okay, cool. Well, there you go. Yeah. Awesome.
I think it also could use the mechanical skill or even piloting.
Yeah, depending on the vehicle.
I think any of those would be good. And I know when I tried to have one of those little helicopters, I couldn't do it. Because I didn't have the coordination. It felt like coordination too. You gotta and you kind of got to know what the hell you're doing.
Skill.
I didn't have any piloting skill. I don't know what the hell I was doing. Helicopters aren't supposed to fly anyways. They're controlled chaos. So.
or drone. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Stefan.
So I was just saying, just a land-based drone could say driving as well.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Yep. Like those old remote cars that we used to have when we were kids sometimes.
Right those I could drive. Yeah. Now, so the question is, what skill are we going to use for our
pseudo?
Or pseudo?
Pseudo, yeah.
Well, the pseudo, I'm going with pseudo. That's how I'm going to
Pseudo.
pronounce it.
Works for me. Pseudo.
All right. I honestly, looking at it, so it is, while it is a high-speed watercraft,
Mm-hmm.
you would think it might lean towards driving. But we want it to be a dogfighter, and that's the key here, which will key it into piloting, in my opinion.
I like it. That's what I was thinking too. How about
because definitely piloting, because it takes into account the third dimension too, not just on the ground, like a flat surface. You have to go up and down sometimes.
Yep. And
so piloting would make sense.
Yeah, so that has no effect on the vehicle price. So
sweet.
To control whatever skill you choose, so it doesn't really matter.
Right now it's super cheap.
Yeah.
Right now we're at 0 pull tabs.
0 times 1.
We have 0. Exactly. 0 times 1, 0 pull tabs right now.
Yep.
It's now just a concept. There's pseudo.
We got the blueprint.
They got it's manifesting.
Yeah. The Acme blueprint.
We have the paper.
We have the paper. That's right. All right. So let's see. So what do we have next then? Is that me? Are we doing round robin? Is that me? Or
that would be your turn, I think.
Okay, so let's see. So our maximum speed and handling is next. So every vehicle begins with a max speed of 1, handling of 0. Okay. And you could potentially they recommend max speed up to 6, a handling plus 4, or negative -4. But really they said you can really have any speed or handling if you want, but just keep the function of your vehicle in mind and the size when you're making the max speeds and handling, when you're taking those into consideration. They do say that cars and trucks, most ground vehicles, may have a slower maximum speed and worse handling. Smaller vehicles, faster with better handling. Just common sense, right? Air vehicles have high speeds. Definitely positive handling there too. Water vehicles usually slower with negative handling, which I have a comment on our vehicle for that, by the way. Spaceships are either designed like an aircraft, fast and agile, or they're just huge and they're slow and plodding along in the depths of space. Now, they do mention here, despite being air vehicles, hot air balloons have a terrible speed and handling.
Yep.
Duh. While modern aircraft carriers have surprisingly good speed despite their size, which is true. So there are suggestions. Yeah. So there is a table. There's a chart here. Yep, for max speed and handling costs. So thinking about it, our maximum speed for our vehicle here. I don't know. I was thinking 4.
Yeah, if it's a dogfighter, like to bring the vehicle companion that Christopher made, he does one paragraph talks about speed. Depending, some maneuvers and actions will require a minimum speed. So if you want a vehicle that's in a dogfight, that means to use evade and gain the advantage, for example, requires a minimum speed of either 4 or 5. So
it'll have to be 4. Now I'm looking I'm on page 231 in the core rule book, looking at the aerospace superiority fighter. Basically, it's your dogfighter, right? Your aircraft jet fighter. Their max speed is 5. That max speed is 5. I don't see us going that fast underwater.
No.
Right? But I do see a 4. I could definitely see a 4 and be able to evade and stuff.
Yeah.
Works for me.
And the handling on the superiority fighter is a +2, though I don't see this being as being able to handle it. I don't see it being a negative handling, though I could see these being a +1, maybe 0, probably a +1.
At least, +1, maybe, with extra work, with, whatever technology makes it more maneuverable than a full-sized submarine with a crew. This might only, maybe much more nimbler.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Oh,
agree
yeah.
with you there. Because here, it says in the design notes on page 60
I
for
like those
this,
design notes, by the way. Those are cool.
handling, while an abstract measure of a vehicle's maneuverability, is only used when making checks while operating the vehicle using specific actions, such as gain the advantage and dangerous driving. Both are going to be things that you're going to be rolling a lot of. And when you're thinking of a high-speed, well-controlled, underwater dog fighter, this is a submersible that acts like a plane, like a dogfighting plane or Starcraft, then yeah, I think a decent handling of 1 is right in the sweet spot.
Yeah.
Gives you that 1 boost die right there, Stefan.
Exactly. Without having to ask for it. Oh.
All right. So on here, then if we look on the table here, our maximum speed of 4 will add 5,000 PTs,
Okay.
pull tabs, right?
Yeah.
And then the +1 handling adds 1,000 PTs. So.
Yep. There we go. And
there we go.
Times 1. So.
That's right. Times 1. All right. What do we got next?
All right. Then we go to the other aspect of defense, armor, hull threshold, and strain threshold, system strain.
Yep.
So I'll start with, of course, defense and armor. So what represents its systems to avoid being damaged or just soaking up. So it's a war vehicle. It's a war vehicle that will be made for combat. Mm-hmm. So probably have a few points of armor. When it talks about this, most vehicles, of course, start with 0 defense, 0 armor. Right. The material is not strong enough to actually offer any kind of protection most of the time. But of course, it does mention that every point, you have to remember that every point of armor and hull that it has represents 10 points of damage from personal scale attacks or weapons. So even 1 point of armor means it's going to be very, very resistant to anything. So for smaller vehicles, they say armor of 1 to 3, while something bigger, silhouette 4 or more, can have 2 to 4. So we've got our silhouette 3 vehicle, being a small vehicle. I think we could say 1 or 2.
I'd go with 1.
I was thinking 1 as well.
1, yeah, because we want to it may represent the fact that they sacrifice a bit of armor to get that maneuverability.
And it's still underwater. It's still still want it to be a little light. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So we got the armor, and then defense would just like a shield or other types of armor represent different things. It could be energy shields, like they say, the angled armor plating, magical protective fields, and whatever camouflage.
Yep.
For a dogfighter, it could be just the hull itself is streamlined to deflect some of the weapons used underwater.
True.
I like this phrase right here: sensor baffling technology.
Mm-hmm.
That is a great way to represent a defense rating.
For this vehicle specifically, you're thinking, or just
in general?
In general,
it's a great way to represent a defense rating in any vehicle, but in this particular vehicle, I think some sensor baffling technology in it, because the word baffle brings to mind, it's a nautical term.
It is a nautical term. I like where you're going with that, buddy.
Yeah.
And I think so. If we're going to look at what we want to do specifically for this vehicle, I'm thinking of this is my personal opinion, defense rating of 1.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I was actually thinking. So let's think about this. Right. It's going to have a fore and aft sensor. It's not going to have sides, right? Is it going to have 4?
Probably not.
No. Defense, it'll have forward and back. Now, here's a question. If we have defense 1, we'll only be able to put defense in the forward or the back. If we give it defense 2, we can have one on each, forward and back, and it gives the players some options to say, hey, let's just put it in front, all in front.
Yeah, like sometimes we hear in sci-fi, like increase the aft deflector shields.
or am I thinking Star Wars too much? Do they have sensor areas in Genesys? I couldn't remember.
I don't.
Or you just I think you just have a defense. You just have a defense. It's just defense.
I don't believe we have defense divided by zones in Genesys.
Okay, then if that's the case, I think the 1 would be just fine.
That 1 is across the board in all directions, essentially.
Right.
I believe we went away from defense zones in Genesys.
Got it. Oh, okay. I'm thinking of, so there is a boost defenses action. I'm on page 229 of the core book, which means you could raise your boosts. You could raise your defenses by 1 if you want it.
And that comes
from suffering train. Yep. Okay. Yeah.
That comes from Star Wars specifically having that angling of the deflector shields action, and it's described as an action that you can take, angling the deflector shields, and that's why it had the vehicles divided into zones. Which there's nothing wrong if you want to do that in Genesys. After all, Star Wars and Genesys are sisters. Sister systems. But it's not in the rules as written. Right. So I think a defense rating of 1 around the whole vehicle is perfectly fine.
Yep, that's what I was thinking. That's what I was thinking too. Yeah. Okay.
Having multiple zones might be more in line with large ships. Sometimes
you're right. Yeah, absolutely.
Especially in space, you hear a lot about
this. And we are talking sensor baffling technology.
Yeah. So that could be all around the ships. Okay, defense 1.
Defense 1, that works.
So armor 1.
And that's kind of cool. And that's cool because we're calling it sensor baffling technology. We could just crank up the power, reroute power right to the sensor bafflers.
Yeah.
And
with a successful check
by 2. Yeah. It costs strain though. Costs system strain, which is what we could talk about here. What does it say about the design notes here?
All right. Well,
wait a second. No. Sorry. We'll do the hull trauma. Oh yeah, the cost. Okay, so the cost of a 1
said armor. Yeah, armor of 1 is 2,500, and the defense of 1 is only 100 PTs.
That's right, 100 PTs. Okay.
Not too expensive there, but the armor, of course, costs a lot more.
Now, in paragraph 4 of that section, it tells you right there, your vehicle begins with hull trauma and system strain thresholds of 1.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you have a suggested range for a vehicle of the size of Silhouette 3 of 10 to 20 and 10 to 16 for system strain for our vehicle that we're doing. So that gives you an idea how much extra you should buy, what range to buy into.
So what are we thinking for these hull trauma and system strain on these?
All right. Well, again, taking into account the function, it's a fighter. We'll see some combat, but it's a dogfighter. It's not meant for maybe slugging it out for long hauls.
More maneuvers, more dangerous maneuvers. I was thinking a lower hull and a higher system strain.
Yeah, that could definitely represent its fragility if it gets hit. It could be serious, but it can do all kinds of maneuvers or functions. So we could set the hull fairly low on its end, maybe 12 or 13.
Oh wow, that's what I was thinking too. 12.
Yeah, 12 was the magic number I was thinking of.
There we go. And a bit more strain, so to allow the pilot to push the vehicle a bit more, so maybe almost a maximum 16 or 15 even.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
There we go.
I was thinking probably 16 on it.
Yeah.
For system strain.
Let's go with 15.
15?
I like 15. 15's
Okay.
a nice. So you got 12 and
So,
15. So you
Hull
got
trauma is 12.
a good difference between the two there.
System strain of 15. Okay, so we have a difference of 11 times for our hull trauma and 14 times something for our system strain because they both start at 1. So what do we have?
They're 100 each.
100 each? Oh, okay.
So it's
So
100.
times 100 PT.
Uh,
We're adding 1100.
1100
hull
to
trauma.
yeah. And 1400.
For system strain. Sweet.
Yep.
All right.
There we go. Sounds pretty
Nice.
good.
Yeah.
The blueprint is shaping up. Nicely.
Yes.
Very nice. So next we're going to take into account when you're building a vehicle, you take into account the occupants, encumbrance capacity, and consumables.
Yep.
Generally speaking, you kind of got to use your best judgment.
Right.
Or how
Tony.
large. Yes, sir.
Sorry, just to go back to the table with hull and strain on the table, it does say when you're building very large vehicles, there's an additional modifier. So it's if your threshold is over 50, it'll be 100. Oh, I mean 1,000. The cost per point.
Over 50.
Over 50. Oh,
Over
geez,
50.
Yeah.
So
That's true.
once you start going over 50, then the cost goes up.
Yeah, that hull gets expensive. That's a lot of
Yeah, it
dirt.
does. And
Yeah.
speaking of that, I like these design notes that they throw in here too. They have a design notes talking about the hull and talking about that where vehicles with armor still hard to damage with small arms. A 1 armor generally makes a vehicle immune to small arms fire. So they have to they're soaking 10 points of personal, right?
That's it.
Yeah.
So
So you have to do 20 points of damage to actually damage the thing. Because it'll soak the first 10, and you still have to do 10 more to even do 1 point.
that's it. So
right.
So the 19 points doesn't do anything.
Right. Now
Basically.
the 2 armor makes it resistant to most human portable missiles. And I think it's right in line. I think our 1 armor is right in line with that, where I could see a portable missile taking us out. Underwater missile, whatever, right?
Torpedo. Man-held torpedo.
That's right. That's right. So, they say here, this last paragraph is kind of cool. We recommend a trade-off between armor, maximum speed, and handling. Armor's heavy. Vehicles with heavy armor should be slower and harder to control. So we didn't add a lot of armor on this, so it's still light and nimble.
That's it. Yep.
Okay, cool.
Very
All right,
cool.
now occupants and encumbrance
So,
capacity.
it's use your better judgment when it comes to crew size. Larger vehicles have larger crews. Of course, more technology-enhanced settings require fewer crew members to handle more responsibilities. Think about it. A freighter in Star Wars, you could have 1 pilot, 1 co-pilot, and the thing works just fine. Whereas a freighter on sailing the 7 seas during Pirates of the Caribbean, you needed 30 men on deck. So your technology level is going to play a part in that.
Yep.
And that's because a lot of the stuff can be automated with machines and computers and artificial intelligence, and so on and so forth. Look to the sample vehicles. We're going to start getting a lot of that with these rules. They've done a ton of example vehicles, and even with the weapons, it goes into that. But that said, vehicles require a pilot at a minimum. So minimum 1 always. To control the vehicle's movement. Weapons usually require separate gunners for operation. So how many co-pilots, sensor operators, engineers, and other crew your vehicle has is entirely up to you. And then consumables are fuel, fresh food, fresh water, even air for spacecraft and submarines. Consumables are tracked very loosely. Consumables line in a vehicle profile indicates roughly how long it can operate before it needs to refuel, or the occupants need to find food, or it needs to be resupplied with air in the case of our submersible. Your vehicle starts out with a single crew member and no passengers, no encumbrance capacity, and 6 hours of consumables. And then you look at the chart and purchase accordingly from there. So in this case, looking at our submersible, do we want it to be a single-man snub fighter, or do we want a kind of like a Top Gun situation where you got your Rio in the back, your gunner,
Goose.
Yeah. Maverick and Goose.
Do I want Stefan to goose me? Is that what you're asking me? No. Well, I'll tell you, there are.
Did that once. No more.
Well, okay. So if we're thinking about underwater vehicles, and we think of space vehicles, just kind of thinking about like fighters and such, you have your Wizzos. The F-18s. I think they have a Wizzo and a pilot. You think of the ships at the start of what was it, Episode 3 in Star Wars? That's single pilot. Those could easily be our underwater, the profile of our underwater submersible, our pseudo, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you also have the Bongos at the beginning of Episode 1, which is a two-man submersible, and it's rather agile.
Yeah.
And I actually kind of like that, to be honest with you.
A side-by-side two-man submersible.
Yeah. Manta ray like profile kind of thing.
Ooh. Yeah, a manta ray kind of profile of this thing. That's kind of neat. I'm liking it. It.
Maybe a two-occupant one.
So then we do a two crew, basically pilot and co-pilot.
Yep.
Put that in. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll make a note. Pilot.
Okay. So
Co-pilot.
in that case, we look at the number of crew, which it just goes over occupants. Okay. So that's and 2 to 4 is a base price of 100.
There we go. Okay.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay.
Plus 100
And then
pull tabs.
Encumbrance. So it's your vehicle starts with no encumbrance, meaning it doesn't have any storage space. And I honestly think as a fighter, generally you're not going to have any storage space.
Nope. You're going to put your bullets somewhere or missiles or something in that storage space. That's about it. And then your consumables will be in that storage space too. Would take up some of that. So that's kind of built in there. I don't know. Let's look at the fighter. If we look at the superiority fighter, so they have an encumbrance of 5 for like a F-18, a jet fighter equivalent, where you could put something in there.
Yeah, which is equivalent, almost like a backpack. A backpack gives you about 4 or 5 points of encumbrance.
Does it? Okay.
Yeah. On a personal scale, anyway.
What if we did just 3?
Yeah.
Okay. That works.
Not a lot of room in here because
no,
you're going to need more consumables. The consumables are going to be your big thing in this because you're going to want to have a steady air supply.
That works.
Oh yes, the musical group is great. Is awesome.
Yeah, it is.
No,
Yeah,
ale supply.
Ale supply.
Ale supply. Right.
That's right. Bunch of dwarves. Yeah!
Well, that's what lumberjacks drink. Ale.
So,
that's right.
The 2 to 4 capacity is another 10.
10 PTs.
In our cost.
Got it.
Yep.
Which basically, I'm pretty sure we're filling that up with pull tabs anyway.
Yeah.
3 encumbrance worth of pull tabs. So when we get back to
just 10 more. That's not too bad.
Yep.
A 6 pack in there.
So our consumables, we're thinking. So consumables is what? That's the amount of time it would take. We would need to refuel, food up, air supply up, right?
Yeah.
Or sorry,
air fuel
and air supply up. Because I'm a lumberjack. Fuck, I need an ale supply. So.
Well, that's it. But
it's 2 days.
It's a fighter, yeah. It's not to be out on missions for weeks. So yeah, 2 days would be more than enough. Like a day per person.
Well, we're thinking. Okay, so
Does that?
let's think about this though, because what we're building this for is for Tales of the Epsilon Eclipse, and in that setting we have a couple already built into our lore, 2 water worlds that are entire worlds of water. And if your submersible fighters can only go out for a few days away from a city or a larger submersible, is that what we want?
So we're going to have to think of if they're on, say, like a submarine aircraft carrier, submersible aircraft carrier equivalent. If we want, so what would the range be? If we want them to be able to travel out 2 days, we're going to need to give them 2 days back. So we need at least 4 days. Right?
That's what I was.
What range? So 4 days. And I think this consumables count for your occupants. So if we have 2 crew, the 4 days for 2 crew.
Yeah.
Right. You don't have to multiply that out, right?
Correct.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just
It's
generic.
for the crew, for the full crew complement.
Full crew complement. Okay. So consumables. So we have 6 hours. How long is our? So 6 hours to start with, and if we go with 4 days, we're going to go with 3 days plus 18 hours.
It's
Doesn't really
divided
matter.
here. It does. It's divided by. If you look at the chart, it's 1 to 6 days of consumables, or 1 to 3 weeks, or 1 to 5 months.
We're only talking 10 PT. Jeez.
Right.
All right.
So
sounds good.
And so the consumables, it says it doesn't give us multiplier times crew. So I'm guessing that's just a flat rate, the consumables for the occupants of the vehicle.
Yeah,
So,
that's what it feels like.
Yeah. Yeah, because I'm even looking at the both the PDFs there, and even on Christopher's book, he doesn't mention like multiplying it times number of days or anything like that. It's just that's the cost.
1 to 6 days for 10. Cool. All right.
Holmes.
Yeah,
What's
buddy.
next?
Oh, we have our weapons.
The weapons.
So the weapons here, they basically say your best duplicating weapons from a similar vehicle later on in this chapter or in the core book. Though you can create custom weapons using the item creation rules on page 197 in the core book. But you have to remember, those rules are for planetary scale or for personal scale items. These are planetary scale, so all of those prices you're going to multiply by 10 as well. They're 10 times as powerful, so you're going to multiply those costs by 10. Now, if you want to mount a personal scale weapon on your vehicle here, make a note of it that it is a personal scale quality, and then obviously it's the same price as in the custom, the create an item rules section there. You don't have to multiply it by 10. And that'll denote that it's not doing the planetary scale damage, it's personal scale. So then it says here that fighter planes normally have mounted machine guns. Driver typically would control the weapons in that case. Larger vehicle like a tank, right? You would have your driver, but then you would have a separate gunner, for the turret gunner. And of course on a tank, you would have the depending on how big the tank is, the gun is. It could be over the horizon, the planet, an extreme
range, tactical
range, right? Or it could be close in. But you can also have that 50 cal personal scale weapon right outside of the hatch, right? As you pop up. So, and then if you have your really large warships and battle zeppelins or whatever, you'll have different gunners on each one of those guns. And of course there are the in the core rule books, the actions that you can take, like the barrage action and those kinds of things. We'll go into details as to how you would roll for multiple weapons,
That's it. So. And Christopher's companion there goes a little bit more detail. He says, like, as a great starting point, it's not maybe a hard, fast rule according to the core books, but he says any vehicle of silhouette 3 or smaller cannot have more weapons systems than its silhouette, just as a guideline. And then any vehicle though of silhouette 6 or larger cannot have more weapon batteries. And he talks about weapon batteries, which is kind of cool too.
Oh, okay.
You can sort of buy weapons like in bulk. This is the turbo lasers or quad lasers. You have 10 of them. That's a battery. That's one weapon system because they usually fire as a battery. So
that sounds like a pretty reasonable guideline.
Yeah, that's it. So having a silhouette of 3 for a vehicle, we should limit it maybe to maximum 3 weapon systems.
Mm-hmm. So for our vehicle, what are we thinking?
Well, I did a little bit of research.
Okay.
And I'll have you know, because we want this to be, it's kind of a space fantasy setting, right? Science fantasy setting. Lasers.
Oh, yeah.
Red lasers don't work well
in
underwater.
Okay, then.
You need a blue-green laser underwater.
Really?
Yes.
Listen to you being all smart.
So, because
you're a dork, Tony.
Because the water tends to absorb red light, whereas with blue-green, it doesn't absorb it, and it travels further. It doesn't dissipate. So
awesome.
One system that I once played called blue-green lasers blazers. So I liked that idea that we would just and I took the example of the air superiority or aerospace superiority fighter from the core rulebook, and it has a weapon called a rotary cannon. And this rotary cannon would use, and it says in its descriptive text, it would use futuristic sounding words like beam or pulse or plasma, blah,
or
blah,
blazer.
Blah. Or in this case, we're going to call it a blazer cannon.
A blazer cannon. Fucking
nice. Yep, that sounds good.
Blazer cannon.
And I like their example here. It's got forward firing arc. A damage of 2.
Yep.
Critical of 5. Theirs has auto fire. But what I was thinking, because we kind of went with that manta ray silhouette,
linked one.
We have it linked one.
There you go.
See, one I'm finishing on either wingtip.
There we go.
Yeah.
Finishing your thought there, Tony. I saw where you're going there.
So they could be twin blazer cannons.
Yeah.
Why don't we call that twin blazer cannons? Yeah, baby. Twin blazer. And do I use a capital Z? BLAZER? No.
If you want.
Sweet. Twin blazer cannons. Nice. Okay.
And I mean, what submersible would not be? What submersible would be worth its weight in salt water without a torpedo launcher?
Well, hey, dude.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you know what? You could totally freaking use the air-to-air missiles.
Or
silhouette for it, right? Or anti-ship missile?
Or the taking a cue from page 69 of the expanded player's guide from the submarine.
Stefan?
What?
Why didn't you say something? He just said page 69, and you didn't say anything.
I know.
What the fuck is the matter with you? You.
I don't have to. You did already.
So we look at the Forward
Yeah, baby.
mounted,
Let's go to page 69.
forward torpedo tube launcher.
There we go.
One.
It's got a
one right in the
damage
center.
of 9, crit 1, range is extreme, breach 2, guided 4, but those are large ones. I think we should scale it down a wee bit.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we definitely,
Yeah,
so we
so-
want that. Okay.
So we'll have a torpedo launcher.
Okay.
Hello? Okay, sorry.
Yeah, we're here.
Yeah, we're here. Oh, you were here. Sorry, I was just reading it. Sorry, there's stuff.
Okay.
All kinds
Dead
of
air.
Yeah,
Dead air. It's great for a podcast.
isn't it though? It's great.
So the torpedo, I liked your idea of the air-to-air missile being kind of also what we look at, but I say we compromise between the two of them.
Use like
and
kind
so-
of the damage as
Yeah.
kind of a thing. Okay.
Damage of the air-to-air missile.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I like
Five or-
the critical rating of the torpedo because when you're hit by a torpedo underwater,
Yeah.
it's generally bad news.
Well,
Yep.
definitely. Yeah. Yeah.
You definitely don't want to get hit.
Explosion's bad, right?
But we don't want it to have breach 2 because, I mean, if you're hit with your own torpedo, you're going to blow up. So,
Yep.
breach 1?
Well, okay. So let's think about what are we fighting against? We're going to be fighting against other
Fighters.
other fighters. We're going to be firing these torpedo. How many torpedoes do we have? Did we just have the one?
Well, no.
Or
We're
do
going
we
to
have
go with
multiple?
limited ammo, for sure.
Right? Limited ammo one, or two. Will we
Well-
be able to fire these at other fighters during a dogfight? Or are
I think
these
limited ammo 2?
okay? Now are these used? Now will we be using these? Now, hang on, I'm kind of getting to my point here eventually. Will we be using these against other fighters or other dog fighters, or are they going to be against ships? If it's going to be against other,
Yes,
like larger, both.
both. That's
Okay.
why I say
Well-
giving them breach 1.
But yeah, definitely. We definitely want to keep the breach.
Yeah.
If they were, yeah.
Well, we
okay.
could, as an idea, we can have, if we're following the guideline, let's say of 3 weapon systems, this could be a light torpedo launcher, maybe against smaller targets, and then have maybe just another heavy torpedo that would be against larger targets. But just throwing that out.
That's a good thought.
I had thought of that too, but then I also thought about our system. And
Right.
one of the other things that you're fighting a lot of in Tales of the Epsilon Eclipse is creatures.
Mm,
And
Yeah.
so for our third weapon system, having a unique kind of anti-personnel weapon instead.
gotcha.
You know what? We're talking. Okay, you know what popped in my head when you said that? A fucking net.
Electronet!
Electronet. Oh, listen to you. Electronet. Electronet for the win, baby.
Yeah. We've got manta ray subs firing electro nets out of its freaking
No.
heads.
Is this gonna be? I'm thinking we're gonna have this a firing arc aft,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah.
Or do they call it rear? They say
Aft.
forward.
It's
rear,
aft.
Aft. Are you daft? It's aft.
Fire arc aft.
It's port, starboard, aft, and fore.
Gunnery. We'll use gunnery for it, of course, right?
Yeah.
Back to the torpedo.
Yeah, let's finish
Because-
that up.
Because the torpedo has a guided quality,
Yeah.
much like the air-to-air missile has a guided. And the torpedo has guided 4, whereas the air-to-air missile has guided 3. And I think I like the lower rating for ours.
The 3. Yeah. Not as much electronics inside of it. That's smaller,
Mhm.
right? To keep it
Right.
guided. Okay. Slow firing 1 seems reasonable to me too.
Oh yeah.
I like that. Definitely, it's a torpedo. Yo.
Yeah.
Damage
time to
5
get-
feels good.
Yeah.
So breach 1. That's gonna be nasty.
Which
Okay.
one? Yeah.
Yeah, you hit
All right,
another. You hit another pseudo with it. You're playing missile tag, but that's
Pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. But that's what these things are made to take out other pseudos, right?
Right.
And how much limited ammo did we say?
2.
Just 2? All right, that's what I thought.
It's a single torpedo launcher with 2 in it.
Right.
Or do we want it to have 3? Half the complement of what the aerospace superiority count.
Yeah, could be. Yeah, 3 sounds a nice number.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that could work. Yeah, we could do that. Limit ammo 3. Sweet.
Yep.
That's why we only have encumbrance of 3, folks.
Yeah.
That's where our torpedoes are.
They're taking up a lot of space.
That's right.
That and the spare air for 6 days worth of air.
Yeah.
Or 4 days or whatever.
4 days worth of air. That's right.
It's okay. It's
2
compressed air.
people? That's a lot of air.
Especially if if a match is in there with it. Like,
Yeah.
Okay, so the Electronet. We've got that rear facing. We've got it using the gunnery skill. Do we want it to have the stun quality?
Yeah, I think so.
It's electricity based. Yeah.
I think so.
Base damage of 4?
Yeah, feels
Yeah,
right.
for personal. Yeah.
Now, because it's stun damage, is it can we put a critical rating on it or no?
Can.
Probably don't have one.
Usually
and stun weapons usually have very high critical, like 5.
Yeah, 5 or 6. Yeah.
Well, let's see. Well, our twin laser cannons have a crit rating of 5. I don't know. We're talking fucking lasers, man. Do we want to reduce that crit rating down to like a 4?
Sure.
Okay.
Do that.
And we'll put this at a crit 5, maybe. Or do we even want to go as high as a 6? 5.
If we're going to go with a 6, I would crank the damage up to 5.
Yeah, we can do that.
What do you guys want to do?
Yeah, we
6
can do that.
crit and 5 personal scale damage sounds a reasonable number.
Yeah.
Okay.
With the stun and the ensnare qualities.
Stun.
Okay.
And the ensnare would be what? Ensnare 2?
Now, is that so? The ensnare quality, does that give you the difficulty to break out, or is that the number of rounds you're ensnared? I keep forgetting.
I believe it's the number of rounds that the condition lasts, and stun would be.
Now, is this damage soakable? So stun damage, that's soakable, right?
Stun damage is soakable.
Yeah, but stun.
Now the stun weapon quality.
Mm-hmm.
So we're looking at remembering our own damn rules that we've used about 100 times here.
Yeah, it's not like we run a podcast or anything, right?
No, exactly.
There's so many rules, so people will understand.
Let me look it up for you, Chris.
Oh,
so the stun active quality can deal strain directly to the target. That's the one where it has a rating, stun rating.
Yeah,
we're just doing stun damage.
It ignores soak.
Yeah. Now you can have both.
Okay, so we wanted, so you know what? So let's do, so we'll have stun damage as a quality, right?
Yeah, which means that 5 points is soakable.
Do we want like a stun 3 on it so that if you do get those 2 advantage, you can do 3 strain to the target, whether it's an animal, whether it's another vehicle too. You can throw an electronet on another friggin' pseudo if you want, right?
Right. Cause some damage. Yeah, there's nothing that says you can't have both. So the weapon itself causes some stun damage, which can be reduced by soak.
Yeah, and if you don't
stun, which bypasses soak.
But you need advantage to activate that stun 3 quality.
Exactly.
You also need advantage to activate ensnare.
Yeah, so that could be an interesting dilemma put on the player. If you don't have enough, if you have enough for one but not both, what do you do? Right? I mean, that could make for some fun play.
That's
sure.
It.
So what do we think?
I like it. Stun 3 and snare 3.
Yeah.
And okay, so then in the ensnare quality
It's number of
gives
rounds
you
they're
the number of
immobilized.
rounds
Yeah.
equal to. Okay. Now they can perform a hard athletics check to break free from the effect, but it is taking their action to do it, or
That's it.
piloting check, or whatever the
Yeah.
hell, probably with this,
Yeah.
right?
Whatever would be
Okay,
appropriate. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and ensnare 3. Sweet.
Sounds good.
Okay, so I'm gonna actually separate and put. We're gonna have to build up costs for each one of these damn things,
Mm-hmm.
right?
So
Do
we
you
can do that off air.
We can do that off air. That's true.
Let's move on to the next section, which is the price and rarity of the craft, which we won't have the final calculation for ours. But
I can give
would
you.
you want to go into that?
Yeah. We calculate what we have so far, of course.
Well, do you want to take a little break to calculate and then come back?
Let's do that.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right. So we took a little pause and calculated the weapon systems for our neat little submarine.
Pseudo. The pseudo.
Pseudo sub. And so two twin blazer cannons, a torpedo launcher, and an electronet launcher. And we ended up with a cost of, what would you say, we rounded up to the nearest, let's say, whole number, like 50,000 pull tabs.
Something like that.
Something like that. So with the cost, of course, comes rarity, like a lot of equipment, which can be a bit difficult to gauge. There's not a specific system, to calculate that. A lot of it is common sense. For example, usually a rarity of 2 is something that would be fairly easy to find, an average, automobile, but this is, of course, a little bit special. A submersible that's a fighter, a bit like a military, of course, kind of equipment with all the weapons on it.
True.
You could easily, I think, go at least maybe a 5 or 6.
I agree. 6.
I would think so. Yeah.
Looking at Christopher's book, he has a few little examples here, like a Sulet 8 warship, for example, might be a rarity of 8 or 9, while an APC could have as low as 5. So I think we're good with 6 being a very specific vehicle. Sounds good to me.
Does Christopher have anything in there about rarity affecting the cost?
No, I was looking
cost.
at that to see, but no, he doesn't mention it. Only that, of course, that it reflects how rare the weapon is, and maybe an idea of if it's a restricted vehicle, a bit like a restricted weapon. You could have that related to the rarity. Something any kind of military equipment could have, even though it's rarity 6, could be restricted. So only people with permits or a very special status, being a government, could requisition this or purchase one. Or
right,
a large
and that's probably
or
why.
a large
And that's,
corporation with.
Yeah. And that's probably why the aerospace superiority fighter is 100 million.
Yeah.
And rarity
Yeah.
9.
Mm-hmm.
And ours is a rarity 6 with 50K. 50,000 pull tabs, by the way. Pull tabs are
sometimes, yeah, to reflect, we all know that like fighter jets cost millions and millions of dollars just to purchase itself. I don't think it'd be out of the ordinary, out of the question to, let's say, take your rarity and multiply the costs to get an actual final cost for such a vehicle, a restricted vehicle, if someone were to try to purchase it outright.
Right. Well, you know what? So let's just try this. If we take the rarity of 6 and multiply it by our vehicle, that's 300,000. That's actually almost reasonable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Still pretty pricey.
I don't know though.
Because it's a military grade vehicle.
Yeah.
Because it's a military grade vehicle. I think we should make it restricted too.
Yeah.
And that's what with the R in the brackets.
Yeah.
Just makes it so that it's hard to get without specific
Well,
contacts.
yeah.
Right. And
Well,
because
exactly.
it is a military vehicle, you always want to add a 0, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
I worked on both sides of that. I worked for defense contractor and for MITRE, the honest broker.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it's it. Because as soon as you put restricted, instead of just trying to buy it with negotiation, let's say, or diplomacy or negotiations, it's then you need streetwise instead. Because not everyone
Exactly.
will want to buy it. So different skill set to try and find a buyer or a seller.
Exactly.
Or would that be C-wise?
I see
Oh.
what you did there.
Dockwise.
Dock-wise, there you go.
So the last thing we look into is special rules. When creating a vehicle, generally you rely on the mechanics of their basic profile to differentiate them from other vehicles. However, occasionally give vehicles unique rules, like mechs and such. It gives them an interesting flavor. You should only give a few rare vehicles special rules. If you want to do this, we provided a few examples of some special rules inside the examples in the EPG here. Special rules should affect the vehicle's price, which that would this one I was thinking about giving it was basically would affect our rounding. Why we rounded up from 45,000 to 50. Because it's going to increase the overall vehicle price by 10% when you give a special rule. And in this case, what I liked the idea of is that this vehicle is used underwater.
Mm-hmm.
It's used in an environment that does not receive a lot of light. So I would put in here for special rule, due to sophisticated sonar equipment on board this fighter, reduce the penalties from darkness by 1 setback die.
Right.
Because normally, when you're in low light, it's 1 setback die. When you're in complete darkness, it's 2.
So let's call this enhanced sonar.
Enhanced sonar, and it will reduce the penalties from darkness.
Right.
And concealment.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, you need something like that. You'll be more often not in situations of low light at the very least.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Whereas you'll still be affected by extreme zero light situations.
Mm-hmm.
You won't suffer a negative. And that's a nice little special rule, and it covers like the 5,000 rounding that we did up to 50K.
That works for me.
Well, that's it. Because they do give a few examples in the EPG of special rules as a guideline. And do you want to go over those, Tony? Or?
Yep, I was going to.
Okay, go ahead.
So the ones that they listed here in their examples of vulnerable. So a vehicle particularly vulnerable to incoming fire, your glass cannon type vehicle. All successful combat checks targeting the vehicle get a 2 additional advantage added to the results. Resilient
buckets.
So like a good example of that would be like a hot air balloon.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's very fragile, a dirigible.
Yeah. Yep. Definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
Resilient vehicles. So a resilient vehicle is particularly durable, perhaps due to the materials it is made of, or because it's redundant systems and solid design. This vehicle suffers a critical hit while you're operating it. You may spend a story point to roll a second one and choose the result that you like.
I could see you putting a resilient on like a tank, something like that.
Yeah, or a mech.
Or a mech. Yeah, definitely.
Yep, definitely.
All terrain. This vehicle particularly adept at navigating difficult terrain. So like a hovercraft. Driving and piloting, operating, check. To direct the vehicle, your character may remove 2 setback dice to the check due to terrain.
Cool.
And last but not least is massive. This vehicle is huge and unlikely to be destroyed on a single lucky hit. When making an attack targeting this vehicle, the critical rating of any weapon used counts as 2 higher.
Nice.
Note, this rule is specifically designed to make the very largest vehicles less likely to be destroyed by well-placed critical hits.
Yeah.
So thinking Silhouette 7 or larger.
That's it.
Yep.
And just to follow up on the special rules, Christopher gives a few other special rule examples in addition to those.
Oh, cool.
Bombing,
What's he got?
bombing run, which is kind of cool, like for your fighter bombers, especially the big bombers, like the big flying fortresses kind of thing. It allows the gunner to pick a point on the ground beneath the vehicle, and he spends an action to perform a hard gunnery check, and if successful, he deals damage in the area. He goes through the whole details to deal lots of damage in that area, plus additional damage per success, and then advantage.
Boy, that'd be nice when the Tannhauser book comes out, right?
Yeah.
Hint, 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 nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Edge
Yep.
Studios.
That's it. He also adds a ram, like the part of the ship is actually made reinforced to deliberately collide with a vehicle, so it suffers less damage, but the target suffers more damage because of it. Yep. One that I like is called Spiky Bits.
That's actually it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's.
So when this vehicle is involved in a collision, all other vehicles and characters involved in the collision add 30 to the result of any critical hit or critical injury they suffer. And then he goes with some others that are maybe more setting specific or vehicle specific, like star drive equipment, which might reflect simply more of a narrative, like effect. Cloaking device. Once per round, as a maneuver, the pilot may engage or disengage the device. The vehicle cannot be detected by any means, but may not use any weapons. A mech could be bipedal, which means it doesn't need, it ignores speed requirements by making a reposition maneuver.
Oh, that's cool.
And a few others, reinforced shields, heavy shielding. So he goes over a bit what that means.
Cool.
So it's worth it to look at to get a bit more ideas. He's probably played quite a few games with vehicles and fleshed some of this out.
Sweet. Well, some of them came from here in the sample vehicles,
right,
and were just put in there as examples for him. But speaking of the sample vehicles, do we want to go through and kind of pick out some of our favorites? And
let's.
I did want to add one last caveat to vehicle creation. Now, this is a tool used by GMs. This vehicle creation rule is a tool used by GMs to make a vehicle for your setting. If you want to have your players do an A-team style vehicle building montage, the crafting rules from Star Wars really come in handy. And those were available in the Age of Rebellion book, fully operational, vehicle and starship crafting. And they give you basically, it starts with a template, and then you make rolls and you can add things to the vehicle. If you wanted to do something like that, where your characters were doing an A-team style vehicle building montage, this is a great way to do it with this system. In the Star Wars stuff, if you've got the Star Wars books, look into it. It can be easily ported over into Genesys.
Cool.
Just a thought. So
that's great, man. That's a great idea.
Oh, it's good.
Okay. Now, sample vehicles. We've kind of got it divided into 3 categories, and we each are gonna kind of go over our favorites. And I think due to time, I'm gonna limit myself to 1.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, so
did you cut out, Stefan, or
no? Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay.
Go ahead, Tony. Kick it up, bud.
So yeah, kicking it off. We'll start with the ground vehicles, and I personally, while I like the chariot, because what I wanted to list one of the vehicles that uses a different control skill. It has those unique control skills. So I brought up the chariot. Chariots are two-wheeled vehicles drawn by 2 or 4 horses in ancient cultures as transportation for nobility or warfare or even racing, your Roman chariot races. The crew is 1 driver. Passenger capacity usually can fit 1 passenger. Consumables, none, blah, 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 all that. Cost us $650.
Nice.
It's got a silhouette 2, max speed 2, -1 handling, 3 hull threshold, 2 system strain threshold, and it uses riding as its control skill.
Because of horses.
Because you're driving horses.
That's right.
Or wolves. Or hearts. Or elk.
Or if you're underwater, seahorses. Right?
Right.
Or battle snails.
And you could call that a chudo, a chariot underwater. Sorry.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. So I just why I brought that one up. How about you, Holmes?
Well, we're gonna go with one that I personally have used, the Wasteland Buggy. In the wastelands of some post-apocalyptic settings, gangs of marauders have salvaged vehicles into rickety engines of destruction. Yes, I used that in the salvage campaign as well. Well, you can find that on Drive to RPG. Great frickin' setting, by the way. Although these could take nearly any form, we've included an example built from chassis of a pre-apocalypse automobile and heavily modified with weapons and a supercharged engine. So this has a silhouette of 2, max speed of 4, handling of 1. It has a defensive 1, and we'll go into why there's a defensive 1. Hull of 9, strain threshold of 9. It does use driving. Duh, it's a freaking doom buggy. You have a driver and a gunner, so you could put that gunner on top, buddy. So, think Mad Max. Those fuckers are turning over. That gunner's going to get smoked, man. This thing rolls.
Roll cage.
Passenger capacity of 2. So if you want a couple guys who need to be witnessed as they're jumping onto, the wasteland, what do you call it? The wasteland hauler.
The war rig.
The war rig, that's right. Consumables of 2 days. Encumbrance capacity of 15, price and rarity of 12,100 and a rarity of 8. The weapons. It's got a scrap shooter cannon on it that just shoots shit out of it. Just pieces of scrap, man. Fire forward arc, left or right. So it's maybe it's turreted mounted almost. Uses gunnery, damage 1, crit 4, range medium. It's inaccurate, obviously, but it's vicious, man. It's vicious. Tear you up. There's a grill-mounted light machine gun that your driver could potentially use. It just, I could see that. Fire arc all. Oh, wow. Okay. Gunnery skill, obviously. Damage 10. Critical 3. Range long. Auto fire, inaccurate, and yes, the reason why it is damage 10, it is a personal scale weapon. So you guys were probably thinking, damage 10, what the fuck? Yeah, it's personal scale. So it is going to be doing 10 damage to folks. It's only going to be doing 1 damage to another buggy. Now, it's vulnerable. It's going to add, anybody targeting this thing adds 2 advantage to the results, okay? However, this kind of explains maybe that defensive one. It has spiky bits on it. And Stefan already explained what that was. So
yeah,
that's one of my favorites. I've used it. It's pretty freaking awesome. Very thematic. And everybody's seen Mad Max or maybe a picture of it.
Oh, yeah.
And you can immerse in it. Yeah, Wasteland Doom Buggy, boom, that's what you think of. Especially when you say spiky bits.
Yes.
All right, Stefan, what you got, bud?
Well, I like the locomotive. Sometimes you want to put your players on the train track and follow the storyline. So what better way than to put them on the train?
Literally on the rails.
Well done. So you've got a locomotive. So it is a land vehicle. It represents, like I said, a classic steam engine. It could be a modern diesel or electric or maglev or even a futuristic design. So
Hello?
Now he cut out, I think.
a lot of weight.
Okay.
Go back there for a second, Steph,
back for a
because you
moment.
cut
Yep.
out.
Right
Yeah.
after you said, what did you say after futuristic design? Start from there.
All right. So even if it was a futuristic design, it follows those tracks to its destination back and forth, whether it's passengers or cargo. So it has pretty much the same silhouettes, same stats. Silhouette 3 in general, max speed of 3, although you could have some of those high-speed trains like they have in Europe could have up to 5. Handling -3. They don't stop on a dime. They don't turn or anything like that, obviously, but they don't stop or start very fast. And they're civilian vehicles, so no armor. Armor 1, considered armor. There's so much metal on it that by default give it armor, but no defense. You're not made to deflect any shots. Pretty tough at 12. Hull threshold, system strain 12 as well. Control skill is operating because you need some intelligence to gauge how to control it. And it'll have 1 conductor, an engineer, and usually 2 spotters. Usually the locomotive itself has no passengers. Consumables 1 day. Encumbrance capacity, they give it 20. No weapons, obviously. And then they just speak briefly about the train cars. They usually haul a number of train cars. Each car has about the same hull trauma, silhouette, etc., armor as the locomotive, but must be targeted individually. So, and then you go a little bit over the details. Passenger train cars can carry maybe up to 100 people. Cargo train cars will have an encumbrance of 200 each, and they cost about 5,000 each. So
Pull
you
tabs.
can use this. Yeah, pull tabs.
Pull tabs each. Sweet.
Yeah. And you can, of course, find these kinds of vehicles in the steampunk, weird war, modern day, science fiction, space opera, monster horror, post-apocalyptics, etc. And a combination of everything. So steampunk, post-apocalyptic.
Coolio.
There
Nice.
you go.
That is
So
awesome.
choo-choo, get on the train and follow my storyline. So,
So, water vehicles. So,
yeah.
looking at water vehicles, and of course, yeah, I brought up the submarine
Mm-hmm.
because of
Foot long?
submersible. Yeah, because I wanted to steal it from Stefan. It's really it. I didn't want to.
Yeah.
But
Not that joke again.
Exactly. I didn't think I would be. I thought I'd had him off at the pass, but I never did. He beat me to it. So yeah, submarines.
That's what he said.
From their concealed position underwater, submarines can launch surprise attacks, gather intel, or infiltrate special force units. So the one they have listed here is like a large submarine. This is like a guided missile submarine. Almost. So in this one, I guess this is a military submarine from the 1950s more than anything. But anyhow, this silhouette 5, so this is huge. Max speed of 2, so it's lumbering. Handling a -2. Armor of 3. It's solid.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why the torpedoes that it uses have breach 2. Hull threshold of 60. Strain threshold of 40. Operating skill is operating. Control skill, I mean. Complement a 120 crew.
Damn.
10 passengers.
Stefan, you didn't want to make a comment on that? The 120 crew members?
No, that's all.
Okay.
I did already. So people can just back up to the beginning of the episode. I'll hear it again.
Consumables for 3 months. Encumbrance value is 60. Cost of $300,000. Again, this is an old 1950s submarine with just torpedo tubes, which if we've already talked about what they do. When making an attack with the torpedo, you can spend an action to determine the dice pool, but not make the check, but do not make the check. Then at the end of the round, make the combat check as an out-of-turn incidental. If the target is no longer in range or could not be hit by the attack, for some reason the check fails. So that's what it takes into account, the slow, old 1950s style torpedo with a propeller moving through the water.
Well,
Nice.
the way that I reread the paragraph a little bit, the submarine stats represents something fairly modern, but they say if you want a military submarine from before 1950s, then they say like remove the guided from the torpedoes, reduce hull trauma, reduce the crew a bit because it's a little older, not as advanced.
Well, this is definitely not a modern submarine because it doesn't have nukes.
No, exactly. Right. It's after 1950s, but not.
I don't know. I'd say nuclear weapons kind of a campaign killing weapon.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
Well, no, point,
maybe
it's a campaign moving weapon. It moves you into post-apocalypse.
Yeah,
almost a campaign terraforming weapon, right?
Like, all right, my players are having too much fun. They're not on my rails. Nuke it.
Nice.
All right, well, that's the submarine. Who wants to go next?
Chris, go ahead.
Okay, well, I'm going to go back a little bit before the 1950s. Hundreds of years before that, when the infamously employed by Norse raiders, the Longship, is an iconic 15 to 30 meter long, thin wooden ship with a single square sail. Offense is limited to the bows, slings, and spears of the warriors aboard. The reason why I picked this is because I've been knee-deep in Valheim, the Viking survival game that you can get on Steam for $20. Fucking awesome game, and I made a goddamn carve.
Shut up, junkie. We're not playing your game.
A small little long ship. It's not Silhouette 3 like this is. The max speed is 2. Handling of -1. No defense or armor on the thing. Made out of fucking wood. The hull threshold is 18. Hardwood.
Vulnerable to fire. Yes, hardwood.
Come on, Stephen. I put that out there for you.
Yes.
It's like a softball coming your way, baby.
All right. Yes, hardwood.
You're making it too easy. That's the problem.
I am making it too easy. Oh, well.
Yeah.
Strain threshold is 16. The control skill is operating. The complement of 40 crew. Passenger of 10. Consumables of 1 day. Now, that's confusing to me because these Vikings crossed... Well, maybe that's why they have 10 passengers. To fucking eat them, I guess. I don't know.
Fishing.
Oh, there you go. There's fishing.
There's
okay,
fishing,
so they're
but
consumables of 1 day. Bait.
Yeah.
You
need more consumables of water, though, too.
Well, true. Encumbrance capacity of 50. Price of 5,400. Pull tabs. And a rarity of 5. No weapons other than the bows, slings, and spears of the warriors that are on board. And then you should use it in the vehicle in the Age of Myth or fantasy settings. So, yeah, I like that because it's, I don't know, it'd be cool to do a Vikings campaign now that I've been playing the Vikings survival game called Valheim. Just kidding.
So when do you run a Primeval Thule for us?
Oh, I know. There's some fucking raiders in there, dude. Yeah, dude. I will at some point in the far future. Maybe.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, that's a long ship. What you got, Stefan? What you pick?
Me, I'm upset because you sank my battleship.
Oh.
So they do have the stats for a World War II era battleship, which for years was the ultimate weapon of the world's navies. So these carried, of course, largest cannons deployed at sea, symbol of course, national pride, and as well as hideously expensive, they say, with a price tag of $90 million. Yeah, pretty much.
In the 19
pull tabs.
during World War II era. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure that's how much they were. Of course.
That's it. So pretty big ship, silhouette of 7.
Oh yeah.
Fairly fast though, max speed of 4. So once they start moving, you don't stop. But terribly difficult to maneuver at -4.
That's right. You can't turn the fuckers.
No. Defense, no, not much of defense. They're big sitting ducks in the water, but so there's defense 0, but lots of armor of 7. Because they take into account that they're sitting ducks. Let's armor up the thing. We paid a lot of money into it. And then 120 on the hull threshold and 90 system strain, so it can take a beating. Of course, it takes operating as a control skill, and a massive crew of about 1,800. Up to 200 passengers can fit aboard. They can stay up at sea for about 3 months. So those sailors get really lonely when they're back in port. Encumbrance capacity of 400. And quite a few weapons. They have 16-inch gun turrets, 2 forward, 1 aft. So they've got some firing arcs, fire arc forward, port, starboard, etc. And of course, the one aft can also fire behind. They use the gunnery skill, damage of 15, critical 3, and a whopping range of strategic, so they don't really have to see the target to hit it. Blast 5, breach 3, linked 2.
Yeah. Damn.
And then some other weapons that will help protect it. 10 starboard and port 5-inch gun turrets, so we can protect them against smaller targets incoming. Damage 7, critical 3, long range, and of course missiles. There's no anti-air guns. Sorry, my missiles is something else. So they've got some of those weapons to cover all the arcs. Damage 1 only, crit 4, range medium, but so just lots of weapons.
Oh yeah.
And then it has a massive quality, so it can reduce the crits, making it harder to crit on it.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Now, if you wanted to give it a defense rating of like 2, for like a more modern battleship, you could put you could flavor that as being like a close-in weapon system, a CWIS, that are on the side where you can just blast those missiles coming in or whatever coming in close. That could
defense
explain
systems,
the defense. Yeah, your point defense systems. Yep.
Sounds good. There you go.
Awesome.
And then we go to air vehicles. What do you got, Tony?
So your air vehicles, these all tend to have much lower hull and strain thresholds because they're lighter craft. So I like the big bus of the sky, the World War II heavy bomber, the B-29, Fifi herself. We're talking, a silhouette of 3, max speed 4, handling -1, 20 hull, 16 strain, of course, no armor, no defense. Control skill is piloting, of course. Complement 1 pilot, 1 co-pilot, 1 navigator, 1 bombardier gunner, 1 radio operator gunner, and then 2 gunners. Of course, that's your crew of your average B-29. Passenger capacity of 2. Consumable 12 hours. Encumbrance capacity of 30. And it's got some heavy machine guns that are all personal scale. All the weapons on here, the turrets that are rear, tail mounted, then the belly turrets, all of them are personal scale weapons. Mm-hmm. Because when you're thinking World War II era planes, they were using personal scale machine guns against other fighters and other bombers it wasn't because nothing flying had armor.
Right.
And then of course we have our special ability here that Stefan mentioned earlier was in Christopher's document, which is the bombing run. The bombardier may pick a point on the ground beneath the bomber and spend an action to perform a hard gunnery check. And it just does a shit ton of damage.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Kaboom.
So that's your World War II heavy bomber.
Yeah.
How about you, homie?
Cool.
Well, I went into space. And I did an interstellar freighter as my choice. So for every military starship, there are 1,000 freighters transporting goods. Our take on a space freighter is similar to a small ocean-going freighter with a small crew, large cargo holds, and limited maneuverability. Now, I picked this one as this would be your, hey, we want to do smuggling. We want to do a crew of smugglers, or if
you can't take the sky from me.
No, I can't. I can't take this guy from you. But I could certainly go to a galaxy far, far away and do it. Potentially.
Do you aim to misbehave?
Exactly.
Do you? I'll answer your question with a question. Do you? So this is a Silhouette 5 vehicle. Max speed is 3. Handling -2. It does have a defense rating of 2 and armor of 2, so it could take a beating for sure. A hull trauma of threshold of 20 or 40. A strain threshold of 20. Control skill is operating. Can have 5 crew, including your companion if you need it, right? It's part of the crew. Passenger capacity is 5. Consumables, you could be out in the black for 3 months. Encumbrance capacity of 600. The price is 75,000. Pull tabs. And the rarity is 5. Now, the weapons on it, it's got one weapon on it. It's a defensive laser projector with a forward firing arc using the gunnery skill, damage of 4, critical of 3, and extreme range. But it is pretty accurate because laser, right? And of course, you use this in sci-fi and a space opera settings. So awesome. That's cool. This is pretty.
Or
that's
space
pretty
western.
Or space western. Yeah, space western. But I mean, I could see. I mean, you could totally tweak this a bit. To suit your needs, for sure.
Yep.
There's a good basis.
Yep. And I've got, it reminisces my favorite air vehicle is the World War II era fighter plane. My personal one is the P-51 Mustang was always my favorite.
Cadillac of the sky.
Yeah. If you want to see some cool scenes of a P-51 Mustang in action, get the movie Red Tails.
Nice.
Oh, okay.
Great movie. So this is, like I said, a prop-driven aircraft from around the 1940s designed to shoot down other fighter planes, escort heavy bombers like the one Tony Likes described earlier, and attack ground targets. So they were equipped with multiple machine guns, usually considered as a single weapon. So it's fairly small. Silhouette 2. Max speed of 5, and fairly maneuverable, of course, plus 2 handling. And like Tony mentioned, vehicles in that era didn't have armor or defense, so 0 in both armor and defense. Only 8 hull and 8 system strain. And of course, you use a piloting skill. Only 1 pilot in it. Passenger capacity, pretty much none. It's made very compact. And about 6 hours of consumables. Encumbrance, a bit of gear, maybe 4 for stowing some gear. Rarity 40,000, of course,
Called a
restricted.
parachute.
Yeah,
Right?
most likely. And it's got multiple wing-mounted heavy machine guns. They fire forward, so you have to aim the whole plane pretty much using the gunnery skill. Good damage of 12, critical 3. Medium range, accurate 2, auto fire, and it's personal scale, but pierce 2, so it can go through any armor that the crew might even be wearing. And some of them might be fitted with ground attack rockets, so that they can fire at fortified targets on the ground, whether it's an APC or one of those locomotives, maybe.
Oh yeah, your locomotive that you got the campaign
Yeah.
on rails
That's it, exactly.
going to Germany.
Yep. So it also uses gunnery, damage rating 5, critical rating 4. I think the reason why it's damage 5 could be because it's not personal scale. That's vehicle scale. So long range, blast 2, inaccurate, 2, limited ammo. So
Yeah,
they
only had
didn't
2.
carry tons of those. Exactly. Probably wing mounted kind of things. So Weird Wars, modern day settings could use that.
Tannhauser.
Yeah.
As it comes out, right?
Yep. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge.
Hint, hint, nudge, nudge.
So one last thing I wanted, and I'm glad you stopped us on this page. It's page 71 of the book here. It goes into one last little optional rule, and that's usable for particularly for settings like ours where we're going to have underwater, and that is the optional crashing or sinking rule. So on the critical hit result table, on page 230 of the core rulebook, is designed to be a generic table for severe damage that can affect a vehicle. However, one thing it does not represent is the possibility of crashing or sinking in the case of an aircraft or watercraft. To better represent this threat, we present the following optional rule. When a ship or an aircraft suffers a critical hit, the attacker may spend additional 3 advantage or triumph to inflict a separate, unique crashing/sinking critical hit on it. It is a hard critical hit to remove, and the vehicle has a major leak in its hull or its control surfaces are shredded. Roll a d5. That'd be a d10 divided by 2, so your percentile dice.
Yeah.
This is the number of rounds the vehicle remains afloat or in air, not including the current round. If the critical hit has not been repaired by the end of the last round, the vehicle sinks to the bottom or crashes and counts as having been destroyed. What happens to the passengers depends on the vehicle in question. And may be modified by you accordingly. So in the case of ships, passengers and crew can swim away. If they're in a airplane that's going really fast, they're going to burn up and die.
Well, unless they have the encumbrance capacity, then have that
to carry enough
parachute.
Right,
have a parachute to jump out.
They could have, they eject.
However, in some cases, such as a submerged submarine, when the vehicle sinks or crashes, nobody survives.
Oh, shite buckets. Well,
so, yeah, that's a great way to put a timer on whether your players are going to be making new characters or not.
Yeah.
So yeah, that little rule would be a handy one to keep in mind, GMs, if you're going to be running vehicle combat in submersibles or ships or airplanes.
Yeah, in the air and space, it doesn't really matter as much unless there's lots of obstacles around, like asteroid fields.
Right. So that is the main subject of our show. We've done 2 whole episodes of deep diving and deep driving in vehicle land. You guys got anything else to add?
Oh, I think I'm pretty good.
I want to see if there's anything on the maybe on the slab. If we're rolling something in from.
Let's go to the lab then. Walk this way. Alrighty, so after talking about all these vehicles, our next stop on the locomotive, the next station is On The Slab. So this is, of course, the part of the show where Tony chooses an adversary from one of the books, and he dissects it bit by bit, and we see how we can change it for different settings. So, Tony, what's on the slab today?
Well, on the slab, I have my... it's a vehicle-themed. So, the Trusty Steed, which is a rival from Keep Forge, page 151. It's just Steed. Many cultures on the Crucible breed creatures as mounts, beasts of burden. Saurians often employ non-sentient dinosaurs, for example, while demons of Dis have been seen using imps that move on writhing tentacles. Members of the Untamed ride all manner of beasts, including armored horses, mighty stags, befriended tigers, and many types of mutated creatures. This is a generic one. There's a bunch of mounts listed in Terranoth also, but I like this one because it was generic and it a little tweaking either direction and some rules for tweaking down at the bottom underneath. And you have yourself just about any mount that you can think of, whether you're thinking of riding around on a war pig, yeah, piggy, or whether you're a whole troop of your friends and you are riding on the back of an Oliphant, or whether you and the rest of your Thark clan are riding around on Thoats. Nice. Or maybe you're a little girl who wants to ride a Panzerbjorn into the. Either way, the stat line is 3 brawn, 3 agility, 1 intellect, 1 cunning, 2 willpower, 1 presence, with a soak of 4 and a wound threshold of 15. No defenses. This rival has a skill block of athletics, brawl, and coordination. With the according skill ranks being 1 to 1 for those. No talents. It's got an encumbrance capacity ability of 12. It can haul some shite. Mm-hmm. It's got a silhouette 2, and it's got a trained mount ability here, which adds a boost die to the character's riding checks while mounted on the steed. Simple kick is listed as its equipment for an attack. It's a brawl-based attack, does 7 damage, 4 crit, range of engaged, disorient 2, and knockdown. Simple enough. This is your basic horse. However, in the additional rules, you've got this thing called functional form, where the steed can carry a number of beings with a combined silhouette equal to its own, and you treat every 2 silhouette 0 beings as 1 silhouette 1. If there are riders, then subtract the total value of their silhouettes from its encumbrance capacity. So, and the encumbrance capacity of a steed can be reduced to 6 to gain either A, the hoverer ability for an additional 200 pull tabs. In this, it's aim bits. Or even fly for 800 additional aim bits. Now, of course, this is listed as equipment in here for a total of, I think it has a cost of 300 ambits to start. Okay. It's also, you can increase the creature's silhouette by 1 for that Oliphant at silhouette 3.
There you go.
And increase its brawn, and all those things will when you increase its silhouette, it increases it by 1. It also increases its brawn and soak by 1, and each one of these adds to their rarity by using these little interchangeable bits.
Right.
But really, this is it's a generic stat block. So if you have the Keyforge book, if you don't have the Keyforge book and you want steeds, get it.
Yeah.
Just for the steed.
At least for the PDF, yeah.
But no, yeah, the PDF is relatively cheap. The steed stat block is handy. And I've used it for my base for what I called an Arthrodire skeleton that I have designed here. Arthrodire being a type of armored fish for prehistoric times. But the reason why I brought this out instead of like reskinning the heavy warhorse or something else is because I wanted to talk about, because this is a vehicles show, there is an optional rule here on page 151, optional rules of using steeds as vehicles. A steed is an organic creature, or even a mixture of machine and flesh, or even flesh-like machinery is represented in the game using a standard profile. However, when both organic mounts and vehicles interact in an encounter, it's often useful to treat the flesh and blood steeds like vehicles. So a mount's silhouette, that's divided into 4 little notes here. Silhouette. A mount's silhouette is on the same scale as a vehicle. So a Silhouette 2 mount is the same size as a Silhouette 2 vehicle. It can carry a number of beings, and it talks about that same rule that the functional form had. Speed. One of the primary reasons for using a steed is the speed advantage it gives the rider over variable terrain. A mount's maximum speed is equal to half its agility rounded up. So for the example, a creature with an agility of 3 would have a speed of 2 when looking at vehicle speeds.
Right.
Handling. To determine the handling characteristic of a given mount, start with the beast's agility, subtracting both the silhouette and the willpower. The final result is your handling characteristic, which I thought was a very handy way of doing this. So a beast that has been specifically trained to accept and work with a rider provides a bonus to skill checks used for riding actions. In the beast entry, the trained mount ability is followed by a number which indicates a number of boost dice added to riding checks. That is what you would just take for your handling in that case. If it doesn't have one, you can use its agility, subtract the silhouette and the willpower.
So if you had a steed that didn't have it, in this case, the agility's 3, subtract the silhouette of 2, which is 1, willpower of 2 makes it a -1 handling.
Correct.
If it didn't have the trained mount ability.
Yes, because it's a total of 4. 3 minus 4, -1 handling.
-1 handling.
But because it's a trained
that's
mount,
kind of cool.
It gives you a boost. Yep.
That's awesome. That's kind of a neat way of calculating that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the profile, so a steed is treated as a vehicle for the purpose of moving through the environment and being controlled by the character. The remainder of its profile stays the same. The mount keeps its wound and strain thresholds, its melee and range defenses, and its soak value, but does not gain hull trauma or system strain thresholds. Attacks against the steed are resolved on personal scale combat. If the steed is ever called to suffer system strain for any reason, it just takes an amount of strain equal to that amount instead. So that was why I wanted to bring that up, mainly just so I could read that and invite you guys over to some Advantageous Threats where our pilots will be fighting against some.
Yeah. And one thought I had for the Oliphant, if you consider it a vehicle, you can give it also maybe the vulnerable negative quality, and whenever it's vulnerable to single elven archers. You see one of those, like turn tail and run.
It still only counts as
Exactly.
one, though.
That's right. It only counts as one.
Still, there's no defense against that. So
Right.
It's
Also,
that elf's going to be surfing your corpse.
pretty
that's
much.
right. Also, a shield maiden with 2 swords too. She fucks him up too. So
Yeah, as long as she's got a halfling controlling the horse.
Right on.
that is right. Now, here's a question for you related to using a steed as a vehicle. I crit the thing. Is it a personal crit?
It's personal scale.
Personal scale. So even the crits are personal scale.
Yeah.
When you're doing personal damage. Okay, cool. Just figured I'd ask. Yep. All right. All attacks against the steed are resolved in usual personal scale combat. Oh, duh. That means crits too. Okay.
Yeah.
Duh. It's right there in that sentence. Cool. All right. So.
Well, that is it for the slab today. Let's jump on over and do some advantageous threats.
Excellent. All right. This is a segment called Advantageous Threats, where we like to build, roll, and narrate the die results of some sample skill checks for our entertainment and hopefully yours. And in this one, Tony will be running us through a little scenario that was, of course, in line with our main topic. Tony?
Yes, this was originally part of an adventure that I had written for play testing for our Epsilon Eclipse game, or setting. So that I was going to run for you guys before the apocalypse happened at our next convention that we went to. But however, so here we are. So the Epsilon Eclipse has world hopped to the city reef of Garden Shoal on the water world of Vrelantis, ordered by the barkeeper to head into the eelman-infested waters to seek a missing Aquilar princess. The players have procured a single. Are you guys in one, or did you guys each get your own?
No, I think we're in one.
We're in a pseudo. We're in one pseudo.
Yep.
In one submersible dogfighter known as a pseudo. After several days of following the princess's trail, the players have come across her golden crab mech yacht under attack by undead fish-riding eelmen.
What?
Yep. So what you see are these large 15-foot arthrodire skeletons, which is just bone-plated fish skeleton that just are leaking greenish necromantic energy into the water. And riding on their backs are eelmen, evil inhabitants of Vrelantis, also allies of the dark enemy of the Epsilon Eclipse. So let's roll up some initiative first.
Yeah, and we do have to decide who's piloting.
Let's roll some initiative, and then you guys can figure out where you're
Figure
at.
that out.
Well, do you want to introduce our characters?
Yeah, let's do that as we roll initiative. Let's start with Stefan. Who are you playing?
All right, I'm playing a Zolhatar mechanics engineer. These are the scarab-like, hot-tempered, fire-spitting bugs, and he's called Martu Matches, wind that burns. He loves tweaking or improving vehicles, even if it runs smoothly already. He can make it better. Doesn't matter. Come on, let's go. Let's go save the princess.
Nice. What does he roll for initiative? You guys, you came over a rise in the water, where it's just rise in the ocean floor, and you see her
Right.
mech crawling amongst a kelp forest and
Alright.
just swarmed with these eel men.
No. All right. So he rolled his vigilance for initiative, and he got 0 successes and 3 advantage.
Okay, 0-3.
Mhm.
All right. And Chris, who are you playing?
Oh, I am playing the Norska lumberjack, Joseph Joss Momfred, or Big Joe. Because he's my lumberjack, and lumberjacks are okay.
Yes.
And because he's a lumberjack, that's cool.
Yeah.
Though I need to, he needs to earn some experience points one of these days too. And he is definitely, he's rocking the flannel vestments. And he's ready to save a princess, man.
Yes, and we're
By the
aboard
order
our
of Axe and Saw Templar, baby.
pseudo that I have christened the Wave Axe.
Okay, who's your pilot, by the way? Who's piloting this thing?
Well,
You could pilot it if you want.
sure, I could pilot it.
I'll
by
be
the
a
way-
co-pilot engineer.
By the way, my my initiative was the same: 0 successes, 3 advantage.
Oh,
All right, sweet. So it's going to be the 2 eel men that peel off from the group attacking and head towards you, aiming their necroblaster cannons off the front of their fish at you. They're going to go before you with an initiative 2 and 1 and a 1 and 2.
Got it.
You guys are going to go at 0 and 3.
Okay.
Mhm.
So the first of the eelmen, he will use his maneuver to cause his fish to go from 0. So he's maneuver to advance. Accelerate.
Mhm.
From 0 to speed 1. Moving at speed 1. So when you came over the rise, you guys were at extreme range.
Okay.
So he's going to move from extreme range to long. With his necroblaster, he is out of range, so he will be taking his action to swim evasively.
Yep.
And that will upgrade any checks against him. The second one will be doing the same. First player slot.
All right.
Well, since I'm the pilot, I'm going to get us close. I'm pretty sure we were trying to beat feed it here. Probably doing. I don't know if we were doing max speed, but if we weren't, I am now.
Okay.
right.
Actually, yeah, we were probably doing max speed. I think, right?
Yeah.
Coming here. Yeah. Coming here.
That's why they spotted us before we did them. So
Yep.
They heard you before you saw them.
yeah.
Yep.
Who cares about stealth?
So
The hell with stealth. Go.
that means I am going to reposition us to be closer as a maneuver,
Right.
and that will do so with our speed of 4. We can move 3 range bands.
Yeah.
Right.
I believe so. Yep.
So we can get right up and close to them. But
Okay.
I think what I'll do, you know what? I think what I'll do is I'll decelerate. Now, does that move us closer to? Can I do the reposition? And yeah, you know what? That's what I'll do. I will decelerate to 3.
Okay.
I'm going to spend 2 strain and 2 system strain, which I'll make a note of it here. System strain 2. And I'll take 2 strain to reposition to, I would think that would take us to at least short range. Right?
Okay.
And I'm going to fire the twin blazer cannons at the thing,
Awesome.
at one of them.
Okay.
So my gunnery is going to be my going to be based off my agility, which is 2. I have nothing in gunnery. Range of probably just 1, right? Do they have a defense?
So, are you aiming at the rider or the mount as a vehicle?
The mount as a vehicle.
Okay. All right. So they do not have any defense.
Sorry, I'm going to update my strain for myself. And I will spend a story point because, I don't know, lumberjack in a pseudo firing underwater at a skeleton dude is just
Okay.
awesome.
Yeah.
And here anything else you want to do to this pool? I have a yellow, a green, and a purple.
All right. So these guys do not have adversary. However, I did say it was 1 upgrade due to their dodging.
Oh, that's right. You did. You sure did. Okay.
So that's it.
Okay. Here we go. Oh, I got 1 threat.
Ooh.
Okay. So your
Pew, pew, pew.
your shots go wide and they hit the ground near the princess's vehicle.
Oh,
Stitching towards the princess's vehicle, and you see that it's like, it's doing that. The blazer shot is going pew, 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 and it's stitching towards, and you see, oh crap, I'm almost going to hit it. So you quickly slam the controls for the gun to shut it off. And when you do, it kind of sticks. So next time you go to use the gun, it's going to have a setback die.
Gotcha. Okay. All right.
All right. So Matches sees, unfortunately, that Joe may have bruised the controls or damaged some of the controls. He'll do a quick damage control to try and see if he can repair that real quick.
Ooh.
Okay. You can remove that setback die if you have a successful mechanics check. In this case, I like it. So we're going to call this one hard for damage control here.
All right.
So,
sounds good.
you're trying to do it in the moment. You're trying to get around Big Joe, who's a big guy.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
So I'm going to call it hard.
Hard check. All right, so I'll go back here. Skill, mechanics. Poop. Hard. Okay. All right. So 3 purple. Anything else? So I've got 3 yellow, one green, 3 purple.
Well, there needs to be a negative consequence. Flip a story point here. I'm on the GM
right.
side.
All right.
And,
And upgrade 1.
We'll upgrade that once.
All right. All right. I look good. No setback dice. What did I do? Okay, good. All right, for a second there. No, I'm not asking for a boost dice. He's not familiar with the controls of this vehicle enough to be familiar with it. So just going to roll as is.
Okay.
All right. Let's go. Aha. 1 success, 2 advantages, and a despair.
All right.
So manage at least to remove. No, you're not supposed to slam it that hard. Come on, bypass that.
What's the minimum damage that your fire beetle?
Let's see. Go back to his stats. I think it's a 5 damage for his burning sensation.
Yeah. So you're climbing around trying to get in past Joe, and all of a sudden, Joe, you feel something hot on your leg. And you look down, and he's just leaking some of his fiery hot fluid out of his back end.
Oh, God.
He's so nervous.
Ooh, hot.
How much do I take?
5.
Oh, no soak?
No soak.
Yeah.
Holy fuck.
Okay.
Holy crap. All right.
Well, it could be damage. You could soak it, maybe. I don't know.
Hey, you're leaking. You're
Nope,
leaking.
just 5 wounds.
All right.
You're leaking down there.
But I do have 2 advantages, so I repair it well enough that he's going to have a boost dice on his next action.
Perfect.
Nice.
For me. All right.
All right.
Sorry,
so we
sorry.
go back to the
Sorry.
top.
Sorry, Joe, but these things just burn me up.
You're telling me, you little fucker. Get back up here. Get on these
You
torpedo launchers. Get on
see
these
Matt
cannons.
just sprung a leak.
Right.
Get on these laser cannons. These blazer cannons. I can't shoot these worth of shit. I haven't sighted them. Forgot to sight them. Darn it. That's what.
Okay.
Oh, I'll focus on the torpedoes. You focus on the blazers.
All right. So in round 2, you guys have, like you said, you had moved into short range,
Pretty
and you're moving at
I see
a
us
good
doing
clip.
this. I see us doing this. We're just gonna pass each other.
Right. But they quickly turn their eels. They're going to turn them on a dime. So they're going to make up piloting checks or writing checks.
Okay.
So the ones that I'm using here are the Coral Tamer. So the Coral Tamer Wave Ripper pilots. These are the specific pilot rivals. They have a knack for it in piloting. Not piloting, it's riding. Should be riding because they're riding an undead mount. But anyhow, yeah. All right, so piloting and riding. I've got to change it to riding, not piloting. Sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, I've got the right skill. Difficulty for the check is their current speed, right? Silhouette, speed, what is it again? It's
Our speed 3.
No, theirs. So silhouette of their mount, and it is upgraded by their current speed, which is 2, so it's not upgraded at all. So it's 2 purple difficulty. Correct?
What do you mean it's not upgraded at all? It should be. Should be upgraded. I'm pretty sure that's what you do. You have to form a dangerous difficulty equal to the silhouette of the vehicle. Current speed of the vehicle can alter the difficulty. Oh, that's right. Because did they slow down or what?
Nope.
What speed were they going?
Max speed of 2.
Of 2.
And if you look at the chart,
it doesn't upgrade it. You're right. Yep.
Does not upgrade it.
Cool.
All right. So, do you wish to affect my pool in any way, shape, or form? These mounts are trained mounts.
No,
so
it's okay.
They grant a boost die.
You could turn on a dime in front of me. That's cool.
Oh no! They're turning around a dime beside you.
Hmm.
All right. So grand
Perfect.
total.
I have you right where I want you. Seriously.
Grand total of 2 successes, 2 advantage. So for the first one, so he just turns whoosh, right in on your flank, coming in on your left wing. Cool. And the other one, as is passing you, he's just going to fire off a Necroblast from his Necroblast cannon.
Sweet.
All right, so the
We have
Necroblaster.
We do have a defensive one. We've got our sensor baffling technology going.
Okay, so Necroblaster uses gunnery, which it has a gunnery skill of 3 and an agility of 3, so 3 yellow. Short range, 1 purple. Defensive 1, got that.
Yep.
And I'm going to say, since you guys are moving at a pretty solid, good clip, and you did all that repositioning, I'm going to throw in another setback die. But he's going to use his maneuver to aim this shot. So,
Okie dokie.
Yeah, I got 3 yellow, 2 black, blue, and a purple. Anything else?
No, I'm good.
I'm good with it.
Okay. I will spend my last story point, give you guys all 3 of them to upgrade this check.
Ooh. All right. Sounds good.
So here goes. No triumph. Darn it. So 4 successes, but only 1. So I ended up with 3 successes and 1 threat. 2 threat. 3 successes, 2 threat. So the 3 successes, the weapon does 9 personal scale damage. With 3 successes, it's not enough to do any hull damage to you guys. Doesn't get past your armor. Just hits off the armor. And No threat. Wait a second.
Threat.
I'm just checking to see. Yeah. It's only Pierce 2. That's not going to affect your thing. If it had Breach, but it
That's
doesn't.
right. It doesn't.
So
No effect.
no effect.
All right.
And
All
two,
right.
two threats. Maybe that Necroblast sort of threw him off, and he'll get a
I think it may be
setback dice.
no. I think I definitely a setback die for it bouncing off the hull into
Right.
its buddy. Kind of. Its buddy has to. Maybe its buddy gets a setback die.
Yeah, maybe.
'Cause
Yeah,
it
that sounds good.
Bounces off the hull. or
Nice.
something. Sweet. Okay.
So the
then,
blast is reflected off of your armored hull, and
Yeah.
it goes right over that left wing, and the other one
Yeah.
has to duck under it, dodge a bit. So he'll have a setback.
Sweet.
Die.
So
All right, 1st
I'm
player
gonna-
slot.
I'm gonna go because I'm gonna reposition ourselves
Right.
ahead one range band, so that I am short range from the guy who pulled up beside us, right? And he's now behind us. That's what I'm picturing.
He was on our side. He
He
said.
was on our side, so he's right next
Right.
to us. But I'm going to reposition ahead of him one range band. I'm going 3.
Gotcha.
He's okay because I'm going to use the electro net on him.
All right.
All right. Gunnery check. I got to use a story point because fucking lumberjack using an electro net. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello.
Underwater.
And then you said adversary? No adversary. He wasn't evading. So yeah, so I have a yellow, a green, and a purple, Tony.
Are you muted, Tony?
No, I'm not. I was.
You know
just
what? I'm gonna
listening.
spend 2 strain and aim. And I'm gonna take that boost die that he gave me.
Yeah.
So I got 2 boost dice too.
Nice. Okay.
Okay. I'm gonna
You
take 2
you
more.
have. Did you say you were gonna upgrade?
I did upgrade, yes.
He did. Yeah. Spend a story point.
I just forgot to flip one of my Othello chips here.
Nice. Okay. All right, so here we go. Fuck me. Okay.
So I want to say this real quick.
Yeah.
We may have I'm getting a max headroom effect from you guys a little bit, just so you know. I don't know
Are
if
you?
that's going to affect the recording. But
Okay.
sorry, listeners, if you hear a little bit of that, we can't help it. Skype
Sounds
does it
good.
to us.
It does. It totally does. Now I failed with 5 advantage.
Oh.
Go figure that shit. I didn't roll 1 success on any of my dice. But that's how you fail, by the way, people, when you're rolling 4 positive dice and 1 negative die. I failed with 5 advantage. I think I can activate Ensnare anyway, right?
Yes.
Mm.
I will allow it.
I'm gonna do it.
So
Yeah.
while the weapon, the electro doesn't fire, maybe it wasn't charged properly or wasn't mounted in
Yeah.
there properly.
That
It
works.
doesn't fire, but the net hits him, wraps him up.
Some of my burning sensation went through the electric system and didn't charge the,
Yep.
the
Yep.
net.
That works.
So that's 2 of your advantage.
Yep. And you know what? Maybe when the net does connect, maybe when the ends kind of connect, bzzzt, I'll activate stun 3 as it does charge up.
Just a residual charge.
Just I don't know. Maybe
Fair enough, but it's for the rest of your advantage. Instead
sure
of 2,
for
it's all
3. That works. But you know what?
Yep.
That's our only net, dude. We only have
Yeah,
one
may
one
as well.
net.
Yeah, but you just
Yep.
took one guy out of the fight for 3 rounds.
Yes,
Yeah.
we did. Depending on how much stun he takes. though.
He's immobilized. This is a mobile fight.
Yes, it
You
is.
could-
Be out of his
or-
range
or-
in seconds.
yeah. or you could activate Ensnare twice. You know, he's really wrapped up.
I don't know if you can do that. No, that's good. Okay, go
All
for it, dude.
Okay,
Oh,
next player slot. Step
all right.
up.
Yes. All right. So he's the pilot. I can't do anything that way. None of the maneuvers really I can help with. I'll just try to prepare.
You could man the guns and
You
use
can
the
man
forward
the
guns.
lasers.
I'll
The
try.
forward
I'll try.
lasers.
Okay, for blazers, I'll try to aim and
That
then
other one-
fire at the other guy. Yeah.
He was still in front of us, or no?
Yes.
All right. Cool. All right.
Yep.
Gunnery.
Short range, probably.
Short range. which is only one.
Yep.
Okay. And I will aim
Mm-hmm.
and take that. Are you? I have one purple, then a blue, a green, and 2 yellow. Are you okay with that,
Yes, sir.
Tony? All right, I'm 2. Go ahead. Oops. Come on, hit. 0 successes, 2 advantage though. So pew, pew, pew.
Stefan, we fucking suck at this game.
Princess better save herself.
Yeah, I think so.
Jesus.
We're just here for the distraction. That's all.
There we are.
So, but 2 advantages. So I'm firing, filling the space around him with with laser blast. He doesn't know what the hell to do.
Yep.
Blazers,
Yep.
yeah. Hitting some fish, a school of fish that go by, giving him maybe a setback in his next action.
Okay. So top of round 3. So what I've got is you guys were beaming in towards the princess's crab mech, and then these guys came at you in round 1. In round 2, you kind of moved level with them. You turned facing the one with your back to the other when you repositioned.
Okay.
And when they went on either side of you, and so you shoot at the one, and just a school of fish passes between at the same time, but he's splashed with fish skeletons and everything, and the other one is wrapped up in this net that didn't fire off right and electrocute him like it's supposed to. So the one directly in front of you whips out of his tunic. He's got like this armored tunic on. He pulls something out of it. Looks like a bomb. Just a big, like a basketball-sized bomb. It's got covered spikes and it's leaking green necrotic energy. And he just drops it on the ground.
Uh-oh.
And when he does, for his entire action, he just pulls that out, throws it on the ground. So I'm going to make a ranged attack to throw that on.
All right.
And
that doesn't look good.
Oh my.
Do you guys want to do anything to my pool? I have 2 yellow, 1 green, and a purple.
Well, definitely. It's a bomb.
Yeah, flip a point because with all the other fish in the sea.
It's a bomb.
So my grand total here, I upgraded that to a red. It gave me a failure, which balances out my 5 successes that I had rolled plus a triumph. So I got 4 successes and a triumph.
So it lands on our hull.
No, he drops it on the ground.
Oh boy.
Okay, on
and
C4.
It goes off. And with triumph, he's going to trigger blast.
Uh-oh.
And
is this a vehicle scale weapon?
No, it is a personal scale weapon. However, it is going to have breach 1.
Ooh.
And this personal scale 14 damage necrotic energy blast just, and there's this wall of green energy you just passes through your ship as it hits you. So normally it does 14 damage, but he hit 14 damage and he activated blast. Hit the ground. Yeah, what the hell? It's going to do 14 damage to you guys with breach 1.
Breach 1, so it'll do a point of hull trauma to us.
A point of hull trauma. Correct.
Oh.
And
how much?
I didn't really need to use the triumph to activate. You know what? The blast.
No, Tony. You know that there's that sinking.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. With triumph, he's going to activate sinking.
Sinking crit. Okay, which you'll have to fix.
So that blast goes off and the hull just kind of buckles
cracks
a little bit
and cracks,
and you see this crack going across your windscreen.
No, I want it to go across my burn on my leg.
No, the crack is going over the not the windshield, but whatever you call it, your forward bubble.
Yep. Oh my
gosh! And water starts to flow in. So I will roll a D5. D5.
A
So
D5. You better
D10
get on
divided
that.
by 2, I roll a 4. So 2 rounds before you sink to the bottom.
Meaning we're dead.
So a hard
Okay.
mechanics check.
Well,
If you'd like
All
to
right.
do that now,
I'll do that. Yeah.
feel free.
All right.
The other one,
Yep.
the other one is gonna just go ahead and make his strength or his
Yeah.
athletics check to try and break out.
I
All right.
think that's a hard check as well.
It's a hard athletics check. He has no ranks in athletics and a brawn of 2. So
Right.
I'm rolling 3 purple dice versus 2 green.
So this is a hard check for
Good
my
luck with that.
for Harvard. All right.
You guys upgrading it?
That.
No, I'm good. I think we're all right.
Yeah. Okay. We had 1 story point left.
Yes, you do.
You use it on your.
Yeah.
I
might-
failed.
check.
I failed with 2 threat. So
Yeah,
I'd say
alright.
that if he tries again next turn, he's getting like tangled up in the thing. We'll throw a setback die on him.
Perfect.
All right. All right.
Okay.
So all right. So we got a hard
First
check to
player
try and
slot,
repair.
round 3.
Yeah. I'll
Yep,
try and
go ahead.
repair this real quick.
Go for it.
So I've got my skill, 3 yellow, a green, and then the 3 purple for the difficulty, and I'm spending a story point to upgrade. And are you happy with the pool?
Yeah.
All right. So let's go mechanics. 3 successes.
Woo! All right. So
That's
you
it.
pull out your device, whatever it is. What have you got that causes you to fix this?
He's got his rather different patching tools, and he needs a bit of heat, so he generates his own heat to fuse some of the panels or the hot glue and spread it evenly across the glass to seal it up as quickly as possible.
Nice. So very little water gets in.
A lot of steam though inside.
Did you have any threat or anything?
Nope, just 3 successes. No
Cool.
threat, no advantage, no despair, no triumph.
All right, homie.
Okay.
So that guy, when he advanced, so he came towards you, threw that bomb. He kind of moved beyond just went past you on the right-hand side. So now they're both behind you.
Sounds good. I would like to turn the vehicle around.
Okay.
I'd
I'd say the way this thing handles, the whipping it around isn't an issue.
Yeah, that's all I'm going to do because I only need to be in extreme range to launch my forward torpedo tube. My torpedo at this guy. So I'm thinking probably short range, medium range.
Well, you get out medium. Yeah, medium range.
Medium range.
It is.
Okay.
It is slow firing though.
Which means I can fire it now, but my second one will take in. I have to wait 2 rounds.
Yep.
Okay. And I'm going to spend a story point to upgrade this.
Okay, this could end it in round 3.
Let's hope.
With one of them being ensnared, I mean,
I'm going to aim. I'm going to spend.
Did we have any
Restrain.
story points left on our side?
yes, you have 2.
I had 2? Okay, good.
Okay.
Doing
so
that.
now we have 1.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, so then what this says is when making an attack with this weapon, spend an action to determine the dice pool. Don't make the check. I'm going at the end of the round, so it doesn't really matter.
Right.
He's in range, so I'll make the check. Do you want to do anything to this? I have a...
Yeah, I'm going to spend a GM story point to upgrade it.
Okay, so that's a yellow, a green, a red, a
'Cause
purple,
you're
and a
using a
blue.
torpedo. So
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yay! 1 simple success.
Still.
So I'm going to do 60 damage to him.
Yeah, he's
For
gone.
each one,
Boom.
Where there was fish and eel man, now
Yeah.
there is blood guts in the water.
Yeah.
hey man, go bigger, go home.
Yeah.
And we're going to stop there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't say anything because I reread the bit of the rules of sinking. To inflict a sinking, I think it's
To have a crit, yeah.
had to, you
But
have
it was
to-
a triumph. So
yeah, it was a fine.
It's all good.
Technically, it says you have to use an extra triumph or 3 more, but whatever.
Right.
For the example,
you
it's
had a
fine.
shit ton of advantage though, didn't you?
No, I just had 5 successes.
Yeah, and a triumph.
Yeah,
So either way, it was good, fun narrative. And you're right. We should have. We should have.
By the
I
rules,
should have just scored a critical on you guys. Is what I should have just done.
But whatever.
You did. It cracked our windshield, and we had to repair it. No big.
Yeah, that's it. It's one way one way of narrating it. So
yeah.
I just wanted to make it clear for our listeners in case they go, no, that's not how you're supposed to do it. Yeah.
That's right. We fucked up, but we narrated it so that it works.
Exactly.
Well.
It still works out. Rule of cool, apparently. So.
Well, yeah. And that is it. That was very cool. And I left the picture of freaking matches here, man.
Yeah.
And holy shit, dude, you did. All right. You burned my dude.
Yeah, I know. Sorry.
You burned Big Joe.
I smell
that.
I smell flannel, burning flannel. Sorry about that.
Fucking burn my flannel vestments. What the hell?
Oh, sorry.
Pristine, baby, pristine.
But right. you sure don't manhandle the controls like that. Jeez.
Well, let's go get the princess.
All right.
Okay, all right, let's go on home.
All right, yeah, let's get out of here.
I hope she has the hots for me.
All right, everybody. Well, that was our show, Tony. Very fun. Advantageous Threats. Pretty awesome.
Thank you.
Can't wait till our next episode where you will be continuing our actual plays of this is going to be session 2 of the Primordial Machina, the Crying Sky adventure that you'll be running. So that'll be awesome.
We'll be adding a third player.
Yeah, your son Sean will be joining us, right? Yep. Looking forward to that. Awesome. So we don't have any listener feedback, but we do have something a special announcement to make here. So Tony, why don't you take that?
So, due to a recent event, a friend of the show, and those of you who know him know that he doesn't normally do this, but he's real close to us. He's a close friend of ours. That's Jamie Pearson. Had a bit of a tragedy. And all I ask and all we ask is that if you know Jamie or you want to know the story, there'll be a link in the show notes to a GoFundMe that'll tell you what's going on. Basically, a very close family member of his had a tragedy. So please just give it a look if you want to. If you want to help him out, help him out. We asked this because Jamie is very close to us. He was actually the person who convinced Chris and I to do this show to start, and so he holds a very special place in our hearts as a friend.
He definitely inspired us to do it. I mean, we started listening to his show, The Gathering of Dorks, years ago. Met him at Con and a Cobb, Tony and I did, and hit it off, and he basically told us, do a show. And we looked at each other and we're like, all right. And he's like, you got to do a Genesys one. We're like, all right.
And before Stefan joined us, Stefan was a solid member of Jamie's show. So
that's right.
Yeah.
So
I helped him out. Yeah. And I said,
again, if you know Jamie or you're interested in finding out, take a look at the link.
Or know of him. I mean, he's been on the show a couple of times too.
Yep. All right. Okay.
Thank you for if you can do anything, we thank you a lot.
Yes. So,
all right.
That's it.
That's it for listener feedback, I think. Segment. Then I'm just going to switch it up a little bit. I'm going to do the contact info. So as usual, you can find us at by email, findingthenarrativepodcast@gmail.com. We're on Facebook, Finding the Narrative there. On MeWe as well. We have a page there. For Facebook, me and Tony are there. We're pretty quick to reply, if anything. All three of us have access to MeWe. I have complete control over the Twitter presence. at ftn_Genesys if you want to just reach out that way or post something. And we hope that you recommend us to others. We're on Podbean, iTunes, YouTube, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Audible, Amazon Music, and probably a few others that we don't know about. So just type in Finding the Narrative Podcast, and you should be able to find us.
All right. Well, this is Tony saying, let's tell a story, spend a story point, and blow up some eel men.
This is Stefan saying, dare to ask for those boost dice unless they just come naturally.
And this is Chris telling you to remember the rule of cool, especially when you're in a fucking submersible with a goddamn fire beetle. Just have fun.
Hot.
That's right. Just have fun doing it. All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Adios.
Finding the Narrative, a Genesys RPG podcast, is not affiliated with or endorsed by any companies mentioned on this show. Any of the products mentioned on our show or appear on our website are the property and copyright of their respected owners. All items are used under fair use and educational and review purposes. All other items are the intellectual property of Finding the Narrative, a Genesys RPG podcast. Copyright
2021.
All rights reserved.